More of that on these playoff games. Little Red Sox. Bobby Kurvitzky will join us later in the show to talk Celtics. Ian Kundle to talk Red Sox. But if we're being honest, what is at the top of my mind on this fine Patriots Day? Other than how great it is to live in this city, because it's always a day of pride, living in Boston, living in Massachusetts, living in New England, is how disappointed I am in the Boston Bruins after that showing last night. Blowing a 2-goal lead, just getting absolutely pantsed in the final 8 minutes of that game to Buffalo. I'm a big believer in the Boston-Buffalo rivalry. I liked it in football this year. I thought it would carry over. So that was very disappointing and left me scratching my head. I know they've done it before, but how can the Bruins, any team really, just fall apart like that so quickly, so suddenly? So I'm sitting here in the digital office over down the hall, and there are two very good Bruins minds in there with me, Matt Dolloff and Ty Anderson. Ty Anderson's quick. He's slippery. He got away. I did not let Matt Dolloff leave to go home, though, until he can explain to me what happened to the Bruins last night. So he's here until I feel comfortable understanding what went wrong with the Bruins last night. I would thank you for hanging out, Dolloff, but I'm not giving you much of an option here.
Barth, I'm tired and I'm hungry. I just want to go home.
I don't care. What happened to the Bruins last night?
I think a lot of people will tell you typical Bruins. I think a lot of people, I felt like a lot of people met that loss, that collapse in the third period with like a shrug. Like they're just, I've seen this before. That's what happens. So if you want to break it down from a technical standpoint, we can.
Well, before we do that, because there is absolutely an element of, oh, yeah, that's Boston Bruins hockey. But it's a new coach. They've completely turned the roster over the last 2 years. That's the whole thing. It's supposed to be a new page, and they hung on to that core for so long, and it was a great core. I understood why they wanted to get everything out of it they could, whether it was Chara, Bergeron, Marchand, Rat, like all those guys hang around, but it's a new era. Why is that still part of the DNA? Or was this a fluke one-off?
I don't know if it's a fluke one-off, but a lot of the personnel still is the same. I mean, Charlie McAvoy's still your number one defenseman. Okay. He's an assistant captain now, and he was the first one to make the bad turnovers that by the way, 2 turnovers on the same play that led to that first goal. And, he had a pretty good game overall, I thought. I didn't think McAvoy was necessarily the problem last night, but that's sort of when the dam broke, was when tried to make an ill-advised pass coming out of his own end with 2 guys right on him, and it just clangs right off the Buffalo guy's stick. Tries to go retrieve it behind the net. There's Tage Thompson, picks his pocket and just sort of tucks it in. He's a highly skilled player in the tight areas with his size and his skill, and like that was just a mismatch against Charlie McAvoy. And so I point to him for that one mistake that sort of got the ball rolling in Buffalo's direction. I know it's not necessarily fair, because he is one of the guys that I thought had maybe 52 good minutes. When he was on the ice, when it was going well for the Bruins, he was fine. But that's where it started. It started with defensemen down in their own end, just sort of panicking and not being able to move the puck, not being able to make good decisions. And it's not all on McAvoy. I thought the Zadorov-Peak pairing, they sort of had trouble all night. I think a big reason that Buffalo spent so much time in that Bruins end was because of those guys being unable to make the D-to-D pass, make clean, smooth transitions out of their own end. And this is just still the story, Barth. You get them deep in their own end, you put pressure on them, you forecheck, and you force them into bad decisions. I don't know that they're necessarily trying to play the way that they should according to their personnel, which is another topic. Yep. And I don't know what Marco Sturm can necessarily do about that right now. He's not going to be able to do much in this series in terms of the lineup and things like that. Yep. But it's the same old problem. You get into the Bruins end and you start to put pressure on them down behind their own net, and they make mistakes, and that's how you get goals against them in the playoffs.
It was a tough third period for them. They're on it really all night. I mean, you didn't mention Jeremy Swayman in there. And anytime you allow that many goals in that sequence, like, you're going to look at the goalie. It's understandable, but they probably should have allowed 2 goals over the first 50 minutes in the job that he did. And we did this 2 years ago. That Toronto series, right? It was 2 years ago, where he just completely stood on his head. And they had no business winning any of those games. But they were able to. Game 7 goes to overtime, and David Pastrnak buries that game winner because Jeremy Swayman extended that run well beyond where it should have been. You can't keep putting him in that situation. And all the stuff on their end of the ice, I think that's well documented. But the other thing that stuck with me was what they did on the offensive end, or what they didn't do on the offensive end. There's one possession there was, I don't remember if it was the first rush down after they allowed the first goal, but it was quickly after. And I believe it was the Hagens-Hustadinov line where they get into the zone and just kind of hold the puck. And they didn't move it. They didn't shoot it. It just felt like they were going to see how long they could possess the puck, run as much time off the clock before the Sabres were able to get the puck away from them. And the lack of... I understand you're not going to go all out offensive blitz when you're up late in a playoff game. But completely shutting it down doesn't seem like the answer either. Like, I get you don't want to allow the goal, but it's so huge there if you respond and you go up 3-1, and there just seemed, for whatever you want to say went wrong on the defensive end, the lack of urgency in the offensive zone to me felt like something more adjustable, felt like something they could change, and it wasn't as, I don't want to say, it just was frustrating that I'm not asking you to pull the goalie and go 6-on-5 and just rip as many shots as you can, but they seemed perfectly content winning that game 2-1, and that's just not how playoff hockey works. Like, you got to keep your foot on the gas there, right?
Well, it could work that way if, again, you have the right personnel to pull it off. I think that is what Marco Sturm wanted to do. I think that's why they asked him after the game, and he said, well, we played the game we wanted to play for 52 minutes. He wanted to just sit on that lead, but he just doesn't have the players to actually make that happen for a full 60 minutes. And I mean, you could almost go back to 2019, the way the Blues played against the Bruins. Like, the Blues go up, sorry to bring that up, but I think that's the reason that, like, people last night were just like, whatever, after 2019. I mean, how could they break my heart any worse than that ever again? But the Blues would go up and they could just sit on the lead because they were just stacked with big, tough defensemen who could stay at home and big, tough forwards who could dump the puck in and hold on to the puck and protect the puck, and they wouldn't get knocked off it. And, like, the Bruins couldn't do much about it because they just had that size disadvantage. And so I think that's to your point, like, that they tried to do that with James Hagens and Murat Hustadinov, who, like, I think that's a very promising group of young players there. I think they're all going to be good to very good, but they're young and inexperienced. They're not the guys you want to put out there to protect a lead.
It's not the group that should be finishing off a playoff game.
Exactly.
On the road,
they're not closers. They're not that kind of line. That to me is something you'd want to depend more on, at least your top end talent, but maybe the Janot line to get in there and just forecheck and muck it up, and that's how you could sort of run out the clock offensively in a situation like that. But yeah, Ty was big on this on the new Sports Hub Underground that just came out, that they sort of took their foot off the gas, and you can't really afford to do that against this Buffalo team, especially the Bruins, who have the clear talent disadvantage, and they don't quite have enough of the defensive personnel and structure to really quiet them down and win these games 1-0, 2-1, whatever. Like, you might as well get aggressive. You might as well continue to keep your pedal to the metal and try to get that third goal. I think you need multiple insurance goals against a team like that, because you saw what happens. They get the one, Tage Thompson sparks the team, and all of a sudden, 7 minutes later, it's 4-2. Like, that was just an insane collapse by them. And I think a part of the problem was that they just tried to sit on the lead instead of trying to just continue to stay aggressive and get that extra insurance goal and sort of demoralize them and take them out of the game entirely, which they never really did.
All right, so I want to talk about maybe some more specifics of what they can change of their approach to that game, how that changes in Game 2, which, again, will be tomorrow night. Also, you want to talk hockey with Matt Dolloff. One half of Sports Hub Underground, new episode up today, went up this afternoon, reacting to last night's game. Check that out after the show, of course, on the Sports Hub YouTube page. But we'll get more into the Bruins, plus your call, 617-779-0985. Next here, it's Alex Barth in for Joe Murray.
We were exactly where we wanted to play. Having being in that position, 5-6 minutes left in the game. I mean, you could tell they got a little bit frustrated, and we made pretty much 2 mistakes to let them tie up the game, and then obviously with the crowd behind, all of a sudden they got some life, and all of a sudden the game is done. So very unfortunate because my guys played very well. But that's playoffs. That's something we have to learn again the hard way, and we just got to stick with it for 60 minutes.
So that was Marco Sturm after the game yesterday. It's Alex Barth in for Joe Murray. I've convinced Matt Dolloff to stay after he was supposed to go home from the digital office there because I want him to explain to me what happened with the Bruins last night. And something I heard quite a bit from Sturm there, mentioned on the Nesson post game, is that they play, and I'm paraphrasing, they played the game they wanted to play through 50 minutes. Basically before, the whole collapse meltdown thing happened. Do you think they played the game they want to play? And do you think that's the game that they should want to be playing against the Sabres?
I think, that's a yes and a no for those two questions, because I think they were sort of playing the game that they wanted to play, which was they wanted to sit on that lead, and they got through more than half of the third period, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that is generally what he wants to do.
Well,
I just think...
Did they get through it, or did Jeremy Swayman get them through it?
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, but I think for a lot of that game, they were almost like accepting that the Sabres were going to be able to use their speed and get rushes going. And just as long as we don't give up the odd man rushes, as long as we don't make a bad turnover and it's a 2-on-0, 2-on-1, they're going to get rushes going out of the way. But let's just keep them to the outside and make it so they don't, get these opportunities right in front. And so for a while, for a lot of that game, they were out shooting them in terms of shots on goal, but the high danger chances were almost even in terms of getting chances in the slot and things like that. And so I think they were just saying, well, let's let them go up and down the ice, and we're just going to keep them away from the net front and the danger areas, and they'll keep peppering Swayman away, but it'll be easy saves for them, and we'll get out of here with a win. And so they were confident that that's how it was going to work out, and that's the way Sturm put it, where maybe he's just trying to keep his guys confident and pump his team up, but the way you put it, we made a couple of mistakes, and then it was attacking. It's that's hockey. That's pro hockey. You played in the league. He knows that the one bad mistake can undo a lot of good. They had the 2-3 bad mistakes in a row that undid 52 minutes of, I don't know if it was a great game by them, but it was good enough to win for about 52 minutes, right? And so then the dam broke on that Charlie McAvoy getting his pocket picked, and then Andrew Peeke with a terrible chance trying to get out of the zone. You're not going to stick handle your way around Tage Thompson and Alex Tuch right in your face. He needed to make a quicker decision there with the puck. So a bad night for the Zadorov Peeke pairing, but at the end of the day, that's your third pairing. And I don't know that I even put that on Sturm. They didn't trade Peeke. They didn't come up with a way to replace him at the trade deadline. That's a spot that you probably need to replace. That goes back to where I'd say I don't know that they have the right players to actually play the game they want to play. They need a guy that can, withstand the physical toll of getting, hit down behind his own net, and just make good, quick, smooth decisions and play with better poise in his own end, and they just don't have enough of that right now, and that burned them.
So what can they do? Matt in Norwood on what's next for the Bruins. Matt.
Yeah, Alex.
Hey.
So, when you hear the stories about how we're 2 pounds heavier on average than the Sabres and how fast they are, we have to slow them down. Was Sturm thinking that maybe we were going to be the Columbus Blue Jackets of 2019 and just muscle them to death and slow them down and work themselves together? Because first of all, our defensemen last night, I know they're saying on the shots on goal and how many were actually really good chances. That can't continue, because I don't think that Swayman's going to be able to stand on his head. There's no Tim Thomas experience coming out of this. What do you guys think?
What do you think, Dolph?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point on Swayman. I did the math, and I just going through the play-by-play. I think he stopped the first 32 shots in a row in the game. So, just by virtue of the math, you would think he's going to give up a goal or two within 32 shots. Getting a 40-save shutout is not something you should expect your goalie to do very much. He could maybe steal you a game playing that way. You're not going to get through a whole series playing that way. And so, yeah, no, I get the caller's point. It might have been a little bit too high of a volume, but like, yeah, they stuck to that plan of like, let's play this up and down game with them, but let's keep them out of the high danger areas. And, honestly, the math sort of ended up playing out in Buffalo's advantage there, because like you end up getting, 37, 38 shots on goal. Like, even if a goalie is standing on his head, like, it's going to be really tough to keep them off the scoreboard. But that goes back to your point where then you can't just sit on it when you have the puck. You should probably try to score, because you're not going to get the same level of volume that they're getting with the shots on goal.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a simplistic approach, but I think there is something to be said for volume, especially Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. This is his first career playoff game. And that first goal he let in, I don't want to say it wasn't a soft goal. Like, Geekie makes a nice play to get there, and Lindholm maybe it was interference, but takes the guy away, gives him the lane. But like,
it was a little puck luck, but I thought it was a great shot by Geekie.
It was a great shot, but like, that's one that I've seen goalies rattled by less, I guess is what I'm trying to say, right? Yeah. I've seen and then
Hagens had a good shot.
Hagens had a good shot.
Sort of just glanced off him. Like, yeah, I think you got a good point there. Like, pepper the guy.
There's the one where, and I don't think it was an active mental decision not to shoot it. I think he couldn't get the puck settled. Obviously, the one from Geeky at the end of the first period. Like,
I don't think he was looking at the net. Like, if you don't see that open net, you must not be looking at it. If you're not firing that puck.
But from that spot with that much room, shouldn't that be the instinct?
The instinct should be, you're getting a cross-ice pass, you should be going for the one-timer, even if the goalie's right there.
I mean, I hate doing this game, but if he buries that, they win last night. Right?
Yeah, well, it wasn't 2-0 at that point.
It wasn't 2-0.
It was at the end of the first, right?
It's at the end of the first, you go up 2-0.
But you go up 2-0 at the first intermission, the crowd's sitting there stewing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you had more opportunities later in the game. I don't know, was it also in the first period when Pastrnak had the 2 breakaways?
He had a couple. Are you worried about him at all? He hasn't scored. Did they end up crediting him with that one late that one at the end of the game? They did.
He should have gotten an assist.
Yeah, they gave him a goal for that.
Oh, the very end.
The one at the very end. So, I mean, sometimes it helps to see one go in, obviously.
I
and maybe
keep saying 4-2. I don't even count that last goal.
Fair. It's very fair. It is what it is. Maybe it helps see that one go in. He has not scored a goal or had not scored a goal since March 25th, also against the Sabres. But, I mean, you're going back almost a month at this point. He does have some assists in there, but he didn't exactly finish the regular season on a high note. Are you worried about where he's at right now after he misses those, can't get a score on those 2 breakaways last night?
He needs to be the guy that's scoring. Like, I think he needs to. I know he made a good effort to transition into more of a playmaking style this year because they needed to get offense any way they could. And so if Pasternak's going to get 100 points, it would be great if he could get some assists out of it and get some other guys on the scoreboard. And so it was nice to see him get 100 points with only 29 goals and 71 assists, I think it was.
Yes.
So, that was great. It's great to see that evolution out of him. But you get to this time of year, he needs to be the guy actually putting the puck in the net. And so, yes, they need to challenge Pekka Luukkonen more. And Pastrnak needs to be the guy testing him because, he's got one of the best shots in the league. And so, I don't know why he's not testing him more than he is. And I think he just tries to do too much on breakaways. I don't know why. Like, he should just fire it when he's on a breakaway too. Like, here's my shot. I dare you to stop it. But he tries to deke, and he kind of loses control sometimes. Yeah, I was disappointed with his effort on those breakaways. He needs to be a guy that's just firing too.
4 shots last night. Had the goal, power play goal on that late thing. 2 assists. So he had a hand in all 3 goals, but he finished an even 0 on the plus minus. Like, it didn't feel like a 3-point night watching him.
Yeah, overall, it was a pretty good game, I thought, for that line. They made the mistakes that sort of undid the scoring that they did, or like the missed opportunities, I should say, not necessarily mistakes, but they couldn't cash in on those other golden chances where they push ahead and they give them that extra little push they needed. And it felt like they needed it last night even more so than usual because that Zacha line didn't do really much offensively. They didn't even flash, really.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the argument that they should probably just be more aggressive. Like, that, they don't need that line sitting on the lead or being conservative or anything like that. They need those guys peppering the net, trying to create opportunities. I thought the way they played a few weeks ago against Minnesota was perfect. They get the puck in deep, they forecheck, they generate opportunities right in front, and all four lines were doing that. That's how I thought that's how they were going to try to play in the playoffs, but apparently not. Hopefully, I hope they do adjust to that sort of kind of game, because I don't expect them to win a run and gun shootout kind of game against Buffalo, but you go according to the situation. I think you can't be too conservative with this Buffalo team, because you can see how quickly it can unravel for you, and that sort of came back to bite them last night.
I don't know about you. It didn't feel to me, even when they were up 2-0, it never felt like they put a lot of pressure on Buffalo. And that's what it comes down to. And that top line especially is a line, I think, that can create pressure and can make the Sabres uncomfortable. Because at the end of the day, they kept going to it last night on the Nesson broadcast. And I understand why. It's not a bad stat. The difference in playoff games played, playoff series played, all of that. Not that the Bruins have this hardened roster of Stanley Cup champions, but this is so new to the Sabres. And make them feel that. Make it you hear athletes all the time when they talk about their first playoff game or their first year in the playoffs or whatever about, it's the same game, got to be the same, and make it feel different. Make them feel different. Make them feel like this is a level that they have not competed at before. It was an intense game early. It kind of was sloppy early, I think, because both teams were just going all out with it. But I never felt like the Bruins put a ton of pressure on the Sabres in that game.
No, and I think that's to what we've been saying. Offensively, they didn't do enough of that. I think you get the puck just deep in their own end, and you just start getting after them physically. I think especially their bottom pairing defenseman, like Matthias Samuelsson, he looked way too comfortable out there. He's a guy that you can crash around on the boards and in the corners, and so I really think they got to try more of that. I wouldn't be against them just starting with that Tanner Jeannot, Mark Kastelik line and just try to put pressure on him right from the start tomorrow.
I want to get to that. You've almost done enough to convince me where you're going to be able to go home. Because as I said, Dolloff was not supposed to be in tonight, and I told him I needed him to explain the Bruins loss to me until I felt comfortable with it.
Can I just have some water?
You can get some water during the break. We got to hit the headlines, then we'll come back. I want to talk about potential adjustments for Game 2. Also, you want to join us on the phone, 617-779-0985. It's Alex Barth in for Joe Murray.
First goal of this series with 9:08 to go here in the first.
As he continues to explain to me what happened with the Bruins last night, and more importantly, how do they avoid that happening again? You mentioned during the last break, during the last segment, the personnel maybe limits some of the adjustments they can make, but with what they have at their disposal, clearly they can't just run it back. What needs to change in game 2?
They might need to, they might need to mix up their D pairings.
Okay.
Ty and I were talking about this on the Sports Hub. They're limited in terms of options, but if you're going to put that Zadorov peak pairing out against, the Tage Thompson line, like if that's going to be your matchup, and I know it's different when Buffalo is at home, they can dictate the matchups there, but that is supposed to be like a defensive pairing there. But if your idea is to get quick passes and get quick breakouts, like maybe you want to check Yoki Haru into the lineup for peak. Like if that's the idea, like if they're going to crash into you and take the puck away from you behind your net, you might as well put a guy out there that has a better chance of actually getting the puck out of the zone, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Getting the puck out of the zone, good. More of that. Yeah. More of getting the puck out of the zone.
So I don't know how much of that they're going to change for game 2. They might just stay the course for one more game and hope that they could steal one and get back home. But like maybe we got to wait till they get back to Boston for those kinds of adjustments. But yeah, they might have to mix up the personnel.
You mentioned in the last
third
segment
pairing, and that they might have to just mix that up.
You mentioned in the last segment too, maybe starting with a different line.
Yeah, like I think just maybe try to set a good tone, set the right tone. Like put that Janot and Kastelik line out there. Like that's a line that that they're at their best when they're getting the puck in deep and just getting into the forecheck along the corners and trying to engage physically with those guys. And so if they wanted to start the game like that, I wouldn't be against it. Just to sort of set the right tone and get them going in the right direction and playing, I think, the way that they should try to play offensively. But yeah, they got to try to be more aggressive anyway, like whoever they put out there.
Justin in Lynn on the game last night. Justin.
Hey, Alex. It's Justin. How are you?
Hey, Justin.
I just had a thought on the game last night, and it was the third period. The Bruins cannot give up a 2-goal lead in that third period the way they did. They let their foot off the gas late in that third period, and I just wanted your thoughts.
Thanks for the call, Justin. So it's funny. I actually tweeted last night after the game because I was annoyed at what had happened, and I tweeted,
was it a sanitized version of what you texted us?
Did I text you anything?
Our group text we were popping off for a few minutes there.
A little bit. I said just a pathetic 7 minutes from the Bruins. They tried to coast to the win instead of keeping their foot on the gas, and they let Buffalo take the game right from them.
Yeah, that's pretty similar to what you said.
So people didn't like that I mentioned keeping the foot on the gas. I said the foot was never on the gas. And look, it was closer than a 2-goal lead through 40 minutes. It definitely was. How much should we read into they got that 2-goal lead, and if they had kept doing, if they kept doing what they did through the point to where they got up to, if they had kept doing what they did through the first 50 minutes, they would have won the game and they changed something? Or was it they played the same way for all 60 minutes, it just wasn't sustainable and it eventually caught up to them?
I don't think they made too many changes, but yeah, no, I think they played a pretty safe style for that third period where, again, like I get that you're trying to just protect the lead, and that's something that I think Sturm, deep down, that's what he wants his team to be, is to get that lead and just then protect it and just hold down the fort.
So the foot was on the pedal at one point in your mind.
I'm sorry, what?
The foot was on the pedal at one point in your mind.
A little bit. Like, yeah, I don't know. I think people maybe are just quibbling over just the phrase, the choice of words,
it's
foot on the gas.
Twitters.
They're not a foot on the gas team necessarily. Okay. Like, is throwing it into the corner and getting it on the forecheck, is that foot on the gas to you? Like, I don't want to get into a semantics battle with people, but like
again, it's Twitter.
If that's what, nice fight in Hurricanes Senators, by the way. Sorry,
right
for the
off
detour.
The drop, right?
That caught my eye. That's kind of what I want to see, Bart. Just get in a fight.
They were trying last night. They were trying a little bit.
Look, I think if you just dump the puck in and just crash into the defenseman and engage them physically and try to take the puck away that way, get it on the forecheck, if that to you is keeping your foot on the gas, then I'm happy with that. They're not going to win a run and gun type of game. Like, I get that.
And that's the game the Sabres want to play, right?
Yeah, look, they almost let them do it. They let them, they're like, we're just not going to let you get the real juicy golden opportunities, but yeah, we'll let you have your skate. And I feel like that might even contributed to the Bruins sort of running out of gas at the end there. Like, Ty and I were talking about, like, but I don't know whether they took their foot off the gas or they ran out of gas. There was just a lack of gas
there was
somewhere.
At one point late in that game, and honestly, it was both teams where nobody was like everybody was skating slow, and it was like, this feels like two teams that don't have a lot of playoff experience and are like realizing what the playoffs are. First game, first round, and they tried to empty the tank and they couldn't quite get across the finish line. Like, both teams seemed gassed late in that game.
Yeah, and but I think Tage Thompson sort of woke them up. And, like, by the way, like, I feel like he deserves credit for sort of taking the puck away and just taking matters into his own hands there.
First goal was a nice goal. Like, that's not a goal everybody can score.
He's a very talented player. He's got everything he needs. He's got the size, the speed, and the skill. Very unique kind of player. If he could pull off plays like that in that situation and win playoff games, like, he could be special. So, like, maybe the Bruins are just running into, like, a special player with Tage Thompson, the way he sort of put the team on his back last night. So that's a side topic, though. I think maybe letting them sort of play that rush up and down the ice sort of game for 52 minutes, I think might have ultimately done them in, because you get to the end of that game and it's like, it's almost like the opposite of if the Bruins were wearing them down physically throughout the game. It's almost like the Sabres' speed sort of wore them down over the course of that game, where it's like, all right, now we got to pass it again. Now we got to get another breakout. And it's like, eventually, you're gonna show cracks, especially if you're trying to do that over and over again with guys like Nikita Zadorov and Andrew Peeke, who, like, I don't think they're at their best when they're just trying to get quick breakouts going. Like, I think you got to play more of, to borrow a basketball term, the half court game. Like, you see more of that in playoff basketball. I think, like, you got to see more of that in playoff hockey, especially for a team like what Sturm wants to do.
Because I think the Bruins did that offensively. They maybe, you could argue, did it too much, again, where they were too conservative on offense. How do you force a team as the defense to play that? How do you force the Sabres into playing a half-ice, half-court offense?
It's in the neutral zone. You got to clog that up, and I think they generally play a 1-2-2, where they have two guys back. Maybe you got to put a third guy up there. Like, that's sort of where you're getting into neutral zone trap territory, and so not necessarily saying they got to play the neutral zone trap, but they got to clog that up and just not even let them get those rushes going. Like, keep it in their own end. I think if they could pull off something like that, clog up the passing lanes through the neutral zone, that could sort of help maybe keep the juices in them, keep them gassed up for the end of the game. Because I don't think letting them go end to end all night and limiting them to, you know, low danger shots on goal, I don't think that ultimately worked out for them in the end, because they just collapsed. They collapsed under their own pressure that they put on themselves.
All right, 617-779-0985. That's a sufficient job, Dolloff, of explaining what went wrong for the Bruins last night. You want to call it an even hour, though? You want to hang out for one more segment?
I'll stay for one more.
All right, we'll keep Dolloff around for one. I want to talk about the James Hagens of it all, too, because I think this is, whatever happens in this series, an important storyline. We'll do that next here. It's Alex Barth in for Joe Murray.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray.
Back here on the Joe Show, no Joe Murray tonight. He's making his way back from Las Vegas. They had Joe Murray from Vegas on the Nesson show today. Zooming in from the airport. That was a good bit. Matt Dolloff joining us for the first hour to talk Bruins. And I want to take a little bit of a long-term view. Obviously, the series is far from over, despite how it feels. But James Hagens made his playoff debut last night. And a lot of what you heard down the stretch about the Bruins as they were trying to get into the playoffs was even if they're one and done, even if they, run into a team that's much better than them, the playoff, just getting that playoff experience for some of these other guys would be valuable down the road. Obviously, at the forefront of that is Hagens, who's top pick, is looked at as if not the future of the franchise. What did you think of James Hagens last night in his NHL playoff debut, Matt Dolloff?
I thought that whole line was solid. Yeah, and I liked what I saw from Hagens when he had opportunities. He had that scoring chance that I mentioned earlier that he very well could have picked the corner there. I think Luukkonen just barely got a piece of it. But yeah, I would have liked to see more of him on the power play. Like I feel like if you could give him more space to operate, maybe he could be a little more comfortable. And I like that Sturm is confident in the young guys. Like we've been waiting for years to have a coach like this that's willing to play younger players.
He put them out there right after that first goal, and it felt like they got a good amount of run down the stretch there.
Yeah, so like hopefully he gave them a little confidence boost just putting them out there and saying like I felt good about them because he said that they were our best defensive forward line, which I'm not necessarily saying he's lying there because Fraser Minton, he's a good two-way player. Hustadinov's a smart, well-rounded hockey player. So, like, those guys can play a two-way game. And I think you've seen from Hagens, especially in that season finale against New Jersey, that he does a lot of the little things more than you would think. Like, he's not just one of these pure skill guys that just wants to score. Like, he'll stick his nose in there. And so, like, yeah, I thought they were admirable. I just don't think realistically you can depend on them for too much. They're the third line. You should approach it that way. But I would just like to see Hagens get more power play time because you'll give him more opportunities and he'll have space and maybe he can let it rip on like a chance like Geeky had or make that cross-ice pass because we know he could do that stuff and I think the points are going to come. But that might be where you have to get sort of the jump from him, get the spark going offensively.
And to be clear, you want to get to a point where you can lean on Hagens like that. That's why you took him as high as you did in the draft, but not. Has he even played 10 NHL games total?
Oh, no, I don't know. I think it was like 3.
Not yet, but how do you buy that? Like, this is in him and Minton and some of these other younger guys. I know you're a big Hustadinov guy, but like, do you buy into that idea that even if the Bruins get swept, losing 5, right, the series doesn't look competitive, it's really all about Hagens and some of these other younger guys getting this experience?
No, yeah, it's good to get them the experience. There's nobody... We're not going to come out of this series saying they should have played Alex Steeves and Mikey Asimont more than they did James Hagens or these other guys. Like, I think it's good to get them the experience, and I think the future is looking up for them.
Yeah.
I just think, like, they're getting exposed for not having quite the kind of defensive personnel that they want to have for Sturm, that Sturm wants.
Yeah.
I think they need to retool there. So I think that's a must. And hopefully you get Hagens here for a full season. And, now that Minton and Hustadinov have a full season under their belts, maybe they can take a step forward offensively. You hope that you can start to add offensive production internally, and they don't need to make too many big moves there. But you got to retool on defense, and I think that's what we're going to come out of the series saying, whether it ends in 4 or 5 games or whether they somehow scratch it out, get to 6 or 7, which I still think there's a chance of. Like, I'm not convinced that Buffalo is going to come here and win, more than one game. Like, I feel like they could split that. And so maybe you're at least going back to Buffalo down 3-1 in Game 5, which isn't ideal. Right. But I don't think this is going to be like a sweep. Like, I think the Bruins could make it interesting once they get back here. That's just a long way of saying we're like, yeah, we're going to come out of the season saying that the future is bright, but there's still, I think they're making a few too many mistakes on the ice with their existing guys. And a lot of their existing guys are veterans that aren't going anywhere. And so, like, you need those guys to just play better in these moments.
Before we let you go, what are your thoughts on the tournament as a whole? I know we're just a couple of games in, but what you've seen so far, and who do you like? Who should we be watching? Who's going to get to the end of this thing?
So I watched actually a lot of the Colorado Avalanche and Los Angeles Kings on Sunday, and so because they were at around the same time as the Celtics.
Yeah.
So I had that on, and I know that's Western Conference, but I just thought of that because LA
We're
was
talking Western Conference hockey.
I don't. Sorry, but but I'm going to relate it back to the Bruins real quick. Sturm was an assistant coach on the Kings. They were playing, I think, the kind of game that Sturm wanted to play. They were doing a little better at it, and Colorado ended up winning, but that was only 2-1. And it was a while before Colorado had a lot of quality opportunities. I think LA sort of has the personnel to do that. And I think if you look at them, I think that is sort of what the Bruins want to do. And that is sort of the blueprint. And I think they did a good job slowing down maybe the most talented team in the NHL. And that's probably what you want to look for as a Bruins fan. I think that's realistically what they're going to try to do.
How about in the Eastern Conference? Do the Sabres have a real shot to get out of the Eastern Conference?
Yeah, I mean, look, like I was saying before, if Tage Thompson can come alive like that and he starts to become a big stage player on top of there's the pure talent he has, like maybe they finally put it all together where like they've built up all this talent over the years and now it's finally coming together all in like not even a season.
Yeah.
It's been like 2 months where they came together. So yeah, there's that, and I'm just disgusted that the Philly and Pittsburgh are playing each other. It's the 6 versus 7.
I mean, I love it because it's Philly and Pittsburgh, and it's a rivalry series in hockey, and that's good. But no, the
format,
NHL
though.
playoff format. When we would have had, this would be Bruins Habs, right? If it was the old format.
Yes, and Philly should be playing Buffalo right now. That's how it should be. And I get it. There's not as much juice as the Battle of Pennsylvania, but it's just.
But you have
dumb
Bruins
format.
Habs, the original 6, great rivalry. No, it's a very stupid format. As leagues are actively making their playoff formats worse, the NBA's, as good as the games are, the play-in tournament remains stupid. The NFL going to a 7th team, horrible. They ruined the best playoff format in sports. Hockey dinking around with this divisional thing. Whatever the hell baseball's doing, they're all making the playoffs worse. But this one, I think, takes the cake.
Yeah, no,
it's very annoying.
And it's crazy. It feels like nobody likes it except
No.
Gary Bettman, and Gary Bettman's just keeping it to spite us at this point.
And probably the Flyers, because they get to play the Penguins instead of playing the Sabres.
Yeah, it's real fun. The 6 versus 7 in first round makes a lot of sense.
Dolph, thanks for hanging out for now. We're talking some hockey with us.
Can I go home now?
Down. You can go home.
Thank you.
Because you had a long day, which included recording Sports Hub Underground, Dolloff, Ty Anderson, do a Bruins podcast. You guys going to be game days during the playoffs? Is that the plan, or day after games?
Just call it post game, whether it's like that night or the next morning.
Pod per game is what I'm asking.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're going to be firing off a bunch of like quick hitting podcasts. As
so
opposed to
be sure to
ones.
subscribe. You can check that out. Also, of course, recaps on 985thesportshub.com. Get out of here. Go home.
All right. I'm leaving.
We're going to take a quick check of the headlines, and then I want to talk about the Celtics, too. Whatever they gave us to talk about, that was something else against the Sixers yesterday. 90 seconds, no commercials. We're right back. It's Alex Barth in for Joe Murray.
From the Town Fair Tire Studio, this
Drive a
is
strong finger all up and down.
this is
Two-hand slam.
home of the 18-time world champion Boston
All the way
Celtics.
3, Eddie hit the
WBZ FM and HD Boston 98.5. The Sports Hub. Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
The Red Sox grabbed the Patriots' day win this afternoon at Fenway. They beat the Detroit Tigers 8-6, scoring 3 runs in the 7th and 2 in the 8th to pull away. Not all good news, though, for the Red Sox. Starting pitcher Sonny Gray left the game in the 3rd inning with what was described as hamstring tightness. He's since been placed on the IL. Tyler Samaniego was called up in his place. It's an off day for both the Bruins and the Celtics as they get ready for Game 2 of their respective first-round playoff series. The Bruins yesterday lost 4-3 to the Buffalo Sabres. The Celtics routed the Philadelphia 76ers 123-91. Both of those teams are back in action tomorrow night. In the NBA, Victor Wembanyama has been named the Defensive Player of the Year. As for NBA playoff games tonight, they are late in the first half in Cleveland. The Cavaliers lead the Raptors 52-42. Just about tipping off in New York, where the Knicks are hosting the Hawks in the late game tonight as the Timberwolves visiting the Denver Nuggets. Meanwhile, in the NHL, scoreless through one period in the Battle of Pennsylvania between the Flyers and the Penguins. They are late in the first period in Carolina. The Hurricanes lead the Senators 1-0. 2 Western Conference games later tonight. The Wild at the Stars and the Ducks at the Oilers. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Super Service Today. Upgrade your home with an electric heat pump system from Super Service Today. to stay cool this summer, warm all winter, and save on energy costs while reducing your carbon footprint. For a free estimate, visit superservicetoday.com. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8:30.
Boston Talk Sports.
Trade Drake May.
We all know what, but we won't say what. Yeah, worst take on these airwaves in the last 24 hours.
We may not take a call today.
The Sports Hub.
Tatum behind the Catus screen. Creeping into the right side, then accelerates past Barlow and scores with the right hand. Timeout, Nick Nurse, to talk about what they can do in Game 2, because our business here today is heretofore concluded.
That's crazy to watch them play with this kind of energy.
Did an hour with Matt Dolloff on the Bruins. If you missed any of that, you can go back and find it on the Sports Hub YouTube channel. I do want to talk a little Celtics, however much we can talk. I was talking to Skaz before the show, and Skaz does the Green Teamers podcast with Jake Seymour, who's also here, who's been covering the Celtics for 98.5 thesportshub.com. He'll be in the building tomorrow, so make sure you give him a follow and check that out on the website. Me and Skaz were talking. See you, Jake. Me and Skaz were talking before the show. I was like, yeah, let's do some Celtics. Skaz goes, yeah, whatever they gave us to talk about is, again, they routed the Sixers. I think it was probably more lopsided than the final score showed. It was a lopsided final score, 123-91. And I was texting a buddy of mine, big Celtics fan, diehard Celtics fan. That's his team of the four in town. Like, he likes basketball, he likes the Celtics. And we were texting a little bit during the game and after the game. And he's like, that was great. I enjoyed that. That was fun. I'm like, yeah, it was fun. I don't know. I'm excited for the Bruins. Little did I know, but I was like, I'm excited for the Bruins. Because what do you mean? You didn't, like, that was great. They won big. I'm like, yeah, but there's no juice. Like, the Bruins game, there's juice in that. I don't know what's going to happen. I wish what happened didn't. Did anybody doubt that the Celtics were going to blow doors in that game? And is any other game in this series going to be any different? Is there any reason to believe that? Skaz, did the Celtics or the Sixers, but really the Sixers, give you any reason in that game to believe that the rest of the series will be any different?
No.
No, it's a much inferior team. And I know they were technically the 7 seed, right? This isn't like the 10 seed backing in through the play-in. They were the 7?
Yes.
So it's not like, okay, I'm not going to do that whole thing with the play-in, but, like, it's just not. And you had an 8 seed beat a 1 seed the other night as well, but it's just not close.
It's not, and I think if you're a Celtics fan, this was probably the best matchup you could have hoped for in round one when you look around the Eastern Conference. Like you just mentioned, the Magic beat the Pistons. That would have been a much tougher matchup for the Celtics. Yes. Now, I don't think they would have had any real problems with the Magic, but certainly they would have more issues than they're having with the Philadelphia 76ers right now, and you saw it. Like, it was a blowout. I mean, you're getting Baylor Shireman minutes. You're getting, Hugo Gonzalez limited minutes, but Garza's out there. Like, this is something I don't think you would have been able to do against the Magic, is get these guys a ton of minutes. And, Tatum and Brown are both under 35 minutes in game 1 of the playoffs. I think, under 30 for Tatum, I believe, in that game. So that's a huge thing going forward. So if you want to look big picture, I would say the 76ers are a good draw for the Celtics. But in terms of our enjoyment, Alex, in terms of us getting competitive basketball to watch, unfortunately, that may have to wait until round 2.
And credit to the fans. Everybody was tweeting that the building was very loud. I don't know, because ESPN does this thing where they mute, like, they don't like it when you can hear the crowd noise.
Yes.
Unlike Nesson yesterday was awesome with, you could hear exactly how quiet that building got and then how loud it got. So the fans stayed in it, which is awesome. The environment seemed great, which is awesome. I'm not dumping on anybody for liking the game. Like, as a fan, yeah, it was a nice, easy playoff watch. But it didn't feel like you were watching a playoff game?
No.
Like, the anticipation, the suspense that comes with the playoffs isn't there. And you know what? Good. We wondered how quickly this team was going to get back into form with Jason Tatum. And were they going to have to sweat some out? We all remember what that run felt like in 24. How much were you really sweating out those games in 24? The Pacers took a couple of them down to the wire. There was that Jaylen Brown shot, right? And then they had that game in Indy where, right, they got up big and the Pacers went on this big run late. That was the game where the Celtics essentially ran 4 verts as the inbound play. at the very, I think Drew Holiday had a steal late in that game. But like, you really didn't have a lot of suspense. It kind of feels like they're back in a form. Doesn't make for much entertaining playoff basketball, but especially when you look at what happened to the Pistons, it does make you feel like they should come out of the East.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And when you just kind of look at the league as a whole, you mentioned the Pistons, falling, but on the other side, OKC and certainly San Antonio, OKC took care of business. SGA played under 30 minutes as well. They held their opponents at like 86 points or something, so their defense was even more stifling than the Celtics. But that's who you're really competing with. You're not competing with, the 76ers this round. I think Celtics fans and the Celtics have, a longer-term view of this. The playoffs are a long road. It's a marathon, not a sprint, especially on a day like today, we can say that. So I think the Celtics are in a great spot. But, yeah, it doesn't make for exactly, great fodder for us, especially when things are as kumbaya as they are over there. I do think from the 76ers perspective, though, it is just great to watch that franchise continue to just meddle in mediocrity.
How's that process going?
Yeah, that process is long gone. Joel Embiid, appendectomy, poor guy can't catch a break.
Paul George and Andre Drummond? What year is this?
32-year-old Andre Drummond.
Is he only 32?
It's my favorite stat to bring up. He is a year younger than Aaron Judge.
He's my age.
Yeah, he's our age.
He's our age,
yeah.
right? You're saying,
yeah.
All right, well, that's nice. That actually... That's encouraging because I've been feeling old lately. So, all right, if Andre Drummond's only 32, I can live with that. Yeah. Paul George got to be at least 36, right?
I mean, he certainly plays that way. Him trying to play defense on Jaylen Brown is not going to work. Paul George is 35, soon to be 36.
How much are they paying him?
Oh,
do I even want to look this up?
I don't know if you do.
Paul George is in the second year of a 3-year contract that includes a 4th-year player option.
Oh, nice. Wonder if he's going to pick that up.
Well, that will be worth $56.5 million when he is age 37.
I have to imagine.
He only gets $51.6 million this year. It goes up to $54 million next year. All-time bag getter, yes. Paul George.
Him and Kirk Cousins should get together over those contracts.
He just signed this, too.
Yes.
2 years ago.
$50 million a year. 50.
Whereas they usually have his career. What do you think Paul George's career earnings are?
Got to be 200 plus.
Oh, Skaz.
Oh.
Keep going.
350?
Keep going.
406
million.
Oh, he's got half a bill, basically.
And some change.
That is
unbelievable.
And he's accomplished. Now, the thing Paul George will be remembered for most is probably being traded for SGA at the end of the day. And
they still have picks coming in from that trade.
Yes, they do. So, that worked out well for the Clippers. That worked out really well.
Yeah.
Trading SGA.
No. They still have picks coming in from the Clippers Thunder. Yeah. The Thunder still have the picks coming in. It's that, and he had, how many years ago did he have that knee injury?
Oh, yeah, that was...
Was that in the Olympics?
I think it was, yeah.
Or that was some sort of international... Yeah, that was a bad one, but... $400 million. Good work if you can get it. Yeah, and that's what the Sixers throwing at the Celtics. $50 million of Paul George. A bunch of centers that can't stop fouling. Maxi's a good player. I'll give him Maxey. Kelly Oubre. Do you remember the thing when Kelly Oubre, like it got reported he got hit by a car?
Yes, yeah.
And then it turned out he didn't?
Well, I mean, who's to say? But yes, it did seem that... when they tried to confirm that report, it did seem they had some trouble confirming.
The traffic cameras were not that was an interesting. I remember that.
I remember Kelly Oubre getting into it with Kelly Olynyk at one point as well. I believe they had a scuffle way back in the day on the Wizards Celtics playoff series.
My favorite Kelly Oubre moment was when he got, I think this was Kelly Oubre. I'm like 90% sure this was Kelly Oubre. When he got drafted, it was one of those things where, because the NBA is weird about it, you get drafted by the team you're not going to play for because the trade can't technically be done or whatever. So he got drafted by the Hawks, and he goes to do the interview on the stage afterwards and is like, yeah, the Atlanta Hawks are the best team in the NBA. The Atlanta Hawks are going to win a championship like in the next 2 years. And whoever was interviewing him was like, oh, actually, you're not playing for the Hawks. You're really playing for the Wizards. He goes, whoever drafted me, we're going to win a championship. He has not yet won a championship. But this is as much as we can do with this game. because the Sixers just do not belong here. They should have traded Embiid years ago and built around Maxey. Now, they missed the window on it. What do you think they'd get for Embiid if they tried to trade him now?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, maybe you could sucker a team into like a second-round pick, but I don't know, man. His contract and just his health, I mean, this one's not even his fault. Appendicitis, What are you supposed to do? I mean, it's an emergency appendectomy. I think I saw today he started strength and conditioning training again. But yeah, it's one of the more talented players of the last decade, but just simply cannot be out on the court for an extended period of time at all. So yeah, I think it is time for them to move on. But I don't know how they do that at this point. And Nick Nurse too, like solid coach, but what do you do from here?
You get swept. You get it over with.
Yes.
Anything less than a sweep would be a little disappointing. I know that's unfair to say. I just think the Celtics are that much better.
Yeah, we did. You mentioned the Green Teamers with Jake Seymour. We did that, and before the series started, we both said 5 games. The first thing we said to each other when we talked after game 1 was, if this is anything other than a 4-game sweep, it's something has gone wrong. That's how bad the 76ers look. And I was listening to a little bit of Grandy and Max, and you said it didn't feel like a playoff game. Max was calling it a scrimmage. He said the 76ers...
Barkley said the same thing on the TNT halftime. He said, thank goodness we have hockey.
Yeah, pretty much. Then, thank goodness until about 10 minutes left in the third we had hockey. But yes.
That's true. Celtics should have saved a little bit after the Bruins. But no, it'll be... Look, tune into the game tomorrow night. I don't mean to downplay it. We'll have it. I guess we'll have it on ROR. Bruins will be on here on 98.5. Here's the entertainment in it for me. And I said this earlier in the segment. Is what Jason Tatum is doing off the torn Achilles. And last time he played the Sixers in the playoffs, he did an interview, I think today, somebody sent it to me the other day, where he said Game 6 against Milwaukee was his best game. He feels like it was his best game. Who am I to disagree with the man? He would know better than me. My personal favorite Jason Tatum game, maybe because I was there, is the Game 7 against Philly 3 years ago when he scored the 51. That's also, the Garden crowd was unbelievable that night. And even once that game was clearly over, it was loud. People were into it the whole way. Picked up right where he left off. He was awesome in that game yesterday. 9-17 from the floor, 25 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists. He almost had it like 5-5-5 at the end of the first quarter almost. Unbelievable game from him. I don't want to get more into that. We'll also talk about this one with Bobby Kurvitzky, who covers the Celtics for Forbes. He'll join us next here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5. You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5 The Sports.
Bobby, thanks for taking the time to join us.
Al, it's always a pleasure. Appreciate you having me on.
So you were there yesterday. Let's start here. I'm not saying people were wrong because I think they were right. I think it was loud. I think ESPN mutes the crowd noise. For a game that was over 10 minutes in, how was the environment yesterday?
I thought the environment was electric. I did not feel like we were in a library or anything close to it. I think that is a crowd that brings it, especially in big moments typically. And, Jason Tatum talked about it after the game, including, he got asked about the ovation that he got when he subbed out for the final time, which was one of the loudest pops of the night. So honestly, I thought it was a terrific atmosphere, which is par for the course with TD Garden, especially in big games, whether it's regular season or playoffs. And that I thought it was a great atmosphere and a crowd that was invested and involved and made their presence felt throughout the matchup.
They did, and credit to them, they hung with them because that thing, again, was over quick. Charles Barkley, Cedric Maxwell said it felt like a scrimmage, lopsided scrimmage, but a scrimmage. What is the takeaway there? What is the takeaway from this game? What did we learn about these Celtics, if anything?
Yeah, I don't know if we really learned something about the Celtics. I mean, granted, there are younger guys who are getting opportunities. Nemish Queta, for example, his first postseason start, and that was a mixed bag where he had foul trouble. He picked up 5 of them, including there was times like at the start of the second half where he's involved in these pick and rolls and it's working. And then about a minute later, he's got his 4th foul and he's got to head to the bench again. So you saw how impactful he can be in this series. You also saw an issue that plagued him earlier in his career, that foul trouble, pop up again. But he's been good in that regard overall this season, and I thought he made strides on that front last year as well. So we'll see what that looks like moving forward. But honestly, to me, Alex, the biggest takeaway is not on the Celtics side. It's Tyrese Maxey. And this is someone who he is the head of the spear for the Sixers. Even if Embiid was playing, that would remain true. But since he had that tendon injury in his pinky on March 10th, he's shooting below 32% from beyond the arc. So if a top 5 scorer in the league and someone who is the most important player on the Sixers is struggling like that, as we saw the other night, 21 points, but it took 20 shots for him to get there, then the Sixers, it's almost impossible to believe they can win this series if that injury is going to continue to plague Maxey and he's not going to shoot the ball well.
I mean, forget winning this series. Can they win a game if he plays like that and Embiid doesn't come back?
Yeah, so Embiid started his strength and conditioning program as he tries to ramp up and get back today.
Do we see him in this series?
Back or not.
Are we going to see Embiid?
Say it again?
Are we going to see Embiid in this series?
He had an appendectomy. So that's a 1 to 3 week timeline. He's just entering the second week now and beginning rehab. I don't know, especially like you said, this series could absolutely be a sweep. It's a lot more likely to go 4 than it is 6, in my opinion. And that's not just from game 1. That's sizing up the tail of the tape between these two teams. And so with Embiid, if it's 3-0, for example, then no, I don't think we see him. But we'll have to see just how quickly he's able to go through this ramp-up period. Ultimately, I would say that it depends on what happens these next 2 games, whether or not we see him.
Again, we're talking to Bobby Kurvitzky, covers the Celtics for Forbes. You mentioned it there, and there's only so many ways you can say it politely. This is a lopsided series, and it is a 2-7. These are usually lopsided, especially in the day of the play-in, where these teams have to play a little more, and maybe they're a little more tired coming in versus a team that rested all week. But then you had the top seed Detroit Pistons get upset pretty convincingly by the Magic in game 1. And I don't know how much you saw of that. I know it was right after the Celtics game. But what'd you make of that result? And I know for some people the Celtics already were the favorite in the East, but as you kind of see what's going on around the conference, the Celtics are the only team, like higher seed, that really took their game 1 that convincingly. Is it fair to not just, say the Celtics can get to the finals, but should get to the finals?
I think the Celtics are the favorites in the East. And so when you get that title, then it becomes should. Now you have to respect what the Knicks are capable of, and they could certainly, play spoiler yet again because it seems like they're on a collision course for the second round for the second year in a row. And you've got to respect what Detroit is capable of doing and their ability to hold down the fort when Cade Cunningham was out, even with what happened the other day. And I don't trust the Cavaliers whatsoever, but they have the offensive firepower and two bigs in Mobley and Allen that they need a lot to go right and remain that way. I don't believe it will, but there's if it all goes well and we hit our maximum potential and sustain it, then Cleveland is further back, but in the mix as well. But when you bring up that Pistons Magic series, it's the most intriguing one so far because, Alex, it's not just the Eastern Conference. The first round so far has gone chalk to this point. That one didn't, so it makes it the spiciest matchup. And look, the worst thing you can do, we learn time and time again, not to overreact to what happens in the first game of a series, regardless of the round. But Orlando has the size and physicality to match up with Detroit's style of play. We know that styles make fights. And so the question, we're going to learn a lot in game two. If the Pistons come out and, for example, they wipe the floor with them, then that series opener was just an anomaly. But the other side of it is that Orlando didn't have their starting five healthy for a lot of the year. Now that's intact. And so this might just be a case where this team that was floundering, and there's all this speculation, no one's seat is hotter than Jamal Mosley's right now. Maybe this was the right matchup for them, and they're getting healthy at the ideal time of year, and maybe they do put it together. And that series, at a minimum, it's more competitive than people anticipated. Maybe the Magic, even a team that was a preseason potential winner of the Eastern Conference, and in that conversation, maybe they even upset the top seed in the East.
What are you looking for from the Celtics tomorrow in Game 2?
I think it's a lot of the same when it comes to one of the biggest areas. I'll pivot here. One of the areas that was most surprising and a feather in the cap of Philly is that they are one of the worst teams at keeping opponents off the offensive glass and limiting those second chance opportunities. But that was an area on the margins where they were competitive. Second chance points, it was 12-10 Boston. The Sixers, especially without Embiid, they usually get crushed in that regard. They weren't even good in that capacity with him on the floor. So to see them hang tough in that area, you wonder if that flips. You wonder if the Celtics, they had so much success against the Sixers and really against the league. It was a huge part of their bread and butter, especially when the threes weren't falling, and they're only okay in that regard in Game 1, Boston. So we'll see what it looks like in Game 2, because Philly, that was as careless as I've seen a team with the basketball this season, and that led to those 15 turnovers, a 22-3 advantage for the Celtics in points off giveaways. So it really just made it irrelevant how good they were on the defensive glass. And now you wonder if they right the ship in terms of turnovers, because they were one of the best at taking care of the ball all season, but do they also have a regression to the mean in terms of allowing these second chance opportunities to a Celtics team that feasted on that in particular against Philly during the regular season?
Again, it's Bobby Krivitsky, covers the Celtics for Forbes. It's kind of a chalk question, but I have to ask it because this was my big takeaway from the game yesterday. How impressive is what Jason Tatum is doing? And maybe, yesterday, 25 points, 9 of 17 shooting, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, led the team in all three categories. Was that kind of first playoff game back from the injury, adrenaline pump, and it's still going to be a buildup from here? Are they going to need to manage him as the playoffs go on, or is he really this far back that he's just going to be this guy in the playoffs again?
I think he's this far back. I don't think there's any concern about him being able to physically handle the minutes, and I don't think the Achilles tendon, put it this way, would be what holds him back from playing 40 minutes if it's required.
Okay.
It's that obviously he's not going to be in the same level of cardiovascular shape as he was at this time a year ago before the injury. So that's where that comes into play if they need him, especially further on in the playoffs, provided they get there.
Yep.
That if that's required, I think he can do it. And there's certainly not a limitation on him as a result of the injury directly. And so what you saw yesterday, you mentioned those numbers. The other side of it is how good he looked on defense, where he gets Tyrese Maxey and he's staying in front of him repeatedly. He's challenging his shot. Maxey went 1 for 5 against him. Edgecombe struggled as well, 2 for 6. I thought Tatum was outstanding in that regard. He always has been an excellent help defender. That was true yesterday. And then he immediately returned to being their best defensive rebounder. He had 11 the other night. So his all-around impact in that game was, like you said, a shining example of just how quickly he is working to get back to being at the standard that he is striving for.
Bobby Kurvitzky covers the Celtics for Forbes. You can follow him on social media at Bobby Kurvitzky. Will be at the game covering that tomorrow night and all through the playoffs. Bobby, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Always a pleasure, Alex.
Again, just incredible stuff from Jason Tatum, the whole Celtics team, but what Tatum is doing right now, unbelievable. Quick check of the headlines. We'll come back, talk more Celtics. You want to join us, talk Celtics, Bruins also on the table. I'm here. You want to talk Patriots draft, 617-779-0985. To the headlines we go, though. Here it's Alex Barth in for Joe Murray.
Sports Hub headlines, presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
The Red Sox grabbed the Patriots Day win this afternoon at Fenway Park. They beat the Detroit Tigers 8-6 after scoring 3 runs in the 7th inning and 2 in the 8th to pull away. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa with a pair of RBIs. Not all good news for the Red Sox, though. A starting pitcher, Sonny Gray, left the game in the 3rd inning with what was described as hamstring tightness. He has Back here on 98.5, the Sports Hub. Alex Barth in for Joe Murray tonight. Joe's making his way back from WrestleMania. I think he's on tomorrow morning, right? If you want to catch Joe, or tomorrow 10 to 2?
Yes, 10 to 2 tomorrow. If you want to hear two men on different ends of the spectrum, as we have Tim McCone, a day off of running the Boston Marathon. Shout out Tim McCone. A very respectable time today. Not quite 2 hours and 1 minute, but good time from McCone.
I still love Matt McCarthy's take from McCone running the marathon last year. I don't know if you remember that.
What was that? That he failed, right?
We might need to play that clip in honor of it. It was one of the most well-crafted takes I've ever heard. McCarthy talking about how we come on here and we judge athletes in positions to do things that we could never do, and anything less than absolute perfection will rip them. It's kind of the nature of our job. So we'd be hypocrites if we didn't say that Tim McCone lost the Boston Marathon.
He certainly did lose it, but the thought of running 26.2 miles is so unfathomable to me that it is a wild achievement.
I can barely run a mile.
Yes. So you will be getting Tim McCone a day after running the marathon, and Joe Murray hours removed from Las Vegas and WrestleMania. So that is a show that I would call appointment listening tomorrow.
That's one of those ones I actually saw this. I wasn't even thinking this, so I said it. You guys have Joe Show Bingo back there now?
Well, so that apparently was a bit the morning show did, I believe, last week. Which, yes, I enjoy it. I'm all for that. I think Joe Show Bingo at night would have to be unbeknownst to Joe. He could not be in.
No, he would sway
on Joe Show Bingo. It would have to be, which we've discussed in the past, but there's so much there that we need an intern, a second producer for something like that, which is just not at our disposal.
Well, I was going to say, you could probably make a bingo board for tomorrow for McCone and Joe.
Yes, that's very true, yes.
That'd be a good show for something like that.
Imagine there'll be the one man who I know is most looking forward to tomorrow is Tom Morgan. So that excites me very much.
He's in tomorrow?
I would hope so. I hope so.
So you can tune in for that tomorrow. That's coming your way. That's when Joe will be back. But I'm here in the meantime. I do want to add in, we just had Bobby Krivitsky on from Forbes. He covers the Celtics. Thank you to Bobby for joining us. We're talking about Jason Tatum and just kind of where he's at this point. It's month and a half now he's been back. He came back in early March and said on the post game yesterday, talking about his first playoff game back from that injury, quote, "Today was probably the most excited and relaxed and grateful I've been in my 9 years of being in the playoffs." So first off, Jason Tatum's been in the playoffs for 9 years. F that world. That's upsetting to see that number. I did not realize we're that means has Jaylen Brown been here a decade?
Yes.
Oh.
Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have walked into the Eastern Conference for the majority of their careers.
But just...
Yeah, it makes us
10
old.
years?
Barth. It makes us old.
I got to pull up now. I keep a running tally of the longest tenured Boston athletes on Twitter. I think I need to update it. But...
It's got to be Jalen, Pastrnak.
Also, just did he feel good? Like, I love hearing that. It's unbelievable to me what he's doing. What Tatum is doing. All right, ready? Longest tenured Boston athletes. Pastrnak is second. Jaylen Brown is third. This is of the teams that compete on this station plus the Red Sox. People get mad at me for who number one is, but I don't know what to do with it.
Number one.
Do you know who it is?
I'm sure as soon as you say it. Which team?
The Revolution.
Oh. Is it Farrell?
It is Andrew Farrell.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's got to be.
So I go by debut. If guys get drafted and spend time in the minors, that doesn't count. I go by professional debut. Andrew Farrell made his debut with the Revs in March of 2013.
Yes.
Pastrnak was almost 2 full years later. So I did this once.
And Jalen was drafted in 16.
Yeah, Jalen was 10-16. Then McAvoy's 4-17, April 17th. Jason Tatum, October 17th. Carl's Hill, another Revolution player.
Yes.
January 2019.
MVP.
That's it. Everybody else is 2020 or later. Everybody else is post-pandemic or later. No January or February 2020 debuts. We only have 6 players left.
You would think the stink of the choking Bruins would be off these young.
None on the Red Sox, none on the Patriots. It's Bruins, Celtics, and Revs. So the first time I did this, I didn't have the Revs players. I just did the Big Four, and a bunch of Revs fans got pissed at me. And I was like, you know what? The guys played 13 years with one team.
Yeah.
That's impressive. I'm going to put him on the list. Like, that counts. And then a bunch of people got pissed at me for trying to, like, I don't know what they were upset about that I was including the Revs, but credit to Andrew Farrell. That's a hell of a career, man. And when he retires, it'll be Pastrnak, but then I put Farrell on, and I was like, all right, I got him. I didn't bother to check the rest of the Revolution. And there's another Revolution player on there. By the way, to round it out, Matt Polster is 7. He's July 2020. Mike Onwenu and Tanner Houck a couple days apart in September 2020.
What a list.
Peyton Pritchard, one of the 10 longest tenured athletes in Boston, December 2020.
It's crazy. That's it, though.
And then we're almost at Garrett Whitlock, Jeremy Swayman, Connor Wong are the next
years.
up.
That's a long time.
That is a long time. But so going back to like when I first did this, when like Brady, I think it was before Brady. No, it was. I thought I did it when Brady left. Where is it? I'm having trouble finding it. I thought I first did it when Brady left, and it was still all these guys that had been here for like 20 plus years. But we're kind of getting. It's crazy that there's only 6 post 2020. I'm gonna have to find the first list I did of this. I know Jaylen Brown wasn't on it. I'm gonna have to find that. We might do that during the break. We also have in or out coming up. We'll do that next year. It's Alex Barth in for Joe Murray.
What's it gonna be, McFly? Are you in or out?
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. Joe Murray gets you right through the night.
I actually spoke with women today.
On the Sports Hub.
Are you in or out? Gotta know without a doubt. I'm the one you need for a dirty deed. I'm the best. Success is guaranteed.
All right, in or out. The Joe Show. By the way, I found that list real quick. You want them on March 17th, 2020, the day after Tom Brady left. The longest tenured athletes in Boston were Patrice Bergeron, Dustin Pedroia, Steven Gostowski, Zdeno Chara, and David Krejci. We've come a long way.
A long, long way.
All right, let's do some in or out.
All right, Barth, a Monday night 420 edition of In or Out. Not 420 themed, unfortunately. Maybe if Joe was here, we would have done that. I hope he is out celebrating somewhere, as I'm sure most of our listeners are. But Barth, we will start at the movies. Why not? Barth, are you familiar with the children's game Hungry, Hungry Hippos?
I am.
Well, Hungry, Hungry Hippos, as a lot of things these days, lost the original rights as some things go back into the public domain after a certain number of years. And now there will be a Hungry, Hungry Hippos horror movie. Alex Barth, are we in or out on a Hungry, Hungry Hippos horror movie?
Didn't they do this with Winnie the Pooh a couple years ago?
They've done it with Winnie the Pooh.
And it was downright terrifying.
Have they done it with... I feel like they've done it with, like, Pinocchio.
Isn't Mickey Mouse in the public domain now?
I think the original Steamboat
Willie, yeah.
Yes, that may be out there. I don't think, like, Mickey is out there.
I'm not a big horror movie guy, but I'm just in on them doing this when things enter the public domain. Do as much of it as you can. It's always fun.
I co-sign. And, like, hippos, I think statistically are, like, one of the more dangerous animals in the world. So, sure, they deserve a horror movie. All right, Barth, pickle-flavored things are all the rage these days.
Well, you got to bring these back for Kendra on Wednesday.
I know. Maybe no in or out on Wednesday on the
That's
Revs.
right.
But our friends over at Burt's Bees, the chapstick company, are introducing a pickle-flavored chapstick. Alex Barth, are you in or out on a pickle-flavored chapstick?
So that's basically just really salty chapstick.
Yes.
I think I'm in. I like salty foods. Yeah, I'm in. I'm in on that one. I'm go-to. It's the cherry flavor.
Oh, okay.
That's my go-to with the chapstick. But I could try pickle.
Are you in or out on the conspiracy theory that chapstick is perfectly designed to make you need more chapstick?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I buy that. Yeah,
Absolutely.
It helps in the short term, goes in the long term. I actually had a friend in college who was like addicted to chapstick, a lot of it. And one time I not even convinced him, I just said once, hey, did you know if you put chapstick on a pimple, it makes the pimple go away? And for like a week, he was going around just putting chapstick on his face. And people were like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's tough.
Apparently it actually does help, which I didn't know at the time. But it doesn't like work.
Yeah, that's great. All right, let's see here. Alex Barth, are you an Almond Joy fan?
No, who is?
Yeah, well, great question. Our friends over at Breyers are introducing an Almond Joy coconut-flavored ice cream. Alex Barth, not a coconut guy.
No. Not a coconut guy.
Me neither.
Not a mint guy.
Keep the Mounds, keep the Almond Joy.
Yeah, I'm good on that.
All right, this from the Draymond Green podcast, the Draymond Show. He thinks the Steve Kerr era in Golden State is over. Alex Barth, are you in or out on the Steve Kerr era being over in Golden State?
So first of all, Draymond's still like an active player on the team, right?
And Steve Kerr is still employed by the team.
That is wild. I don't think enough is being made that an active player said, yeah, my coach is leaving like that. That's a this league moment.
It's Draymond.
It does feel like that thing's run its course, though, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
And it's not exactly going out on top, but you're getting out before they bottom out if you're Steve Kerr, because they're going to have to bottom out to build that thing back up again. And maybe how many more years does Steph have left? Right?
Two or three at his prime, maybe.
Does he want to ride it out with Steph and they go out together? But then is he like going through the motions? And unless he wants to ride it out with Steph, this is a logical parting point, I would say.
Yeah, I'm with you.
How old is Steph Curry?
He's got to be 35, 36.
He is 38.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, maybe... I don't want to say he's all done because he's obviously still, one of the all-time greats, but The end is near for Steph.
Well, do they go out together?
Yeah, that's a good point as well. While we're on the NBA, Bill Simmons, constantly in the headlines for things he says on his podcast. But this one got some people's backs up on NBA Twitter. Bill Simmons says that he changed his vote for Sixth Man of the Year after watching the play-in games, saying that he had Jaime Jaquez over Keldon Johnson, but then Miami lost on Wednesday, and he switched his vote to Keldon Johnson. Alex Barth, are you in or out on changing your vote because of the play-in games?
I'm out. That's not the regular season. That's not supposed to count. Honor the nature of the award. I'm also out on Bill Simmons being down on the T-shirts in San Antonio.
He does not like the T-shirts.
Look, I'm in on the Spurs shaming fans and doing it. I don't think every franchise needs to do the T-shirts. Like the Celtics, this is a dedicated enough fan base. I think they do that because in some places, like in New York, where it's very casual fans, or in L.A., people aren't wearing team gear to the games, and that's not a good look. So they want to make sure everybody's wearing team gear. I'm not worried about Celtics fans showing up not wearing Celtics gear. In San Antonio, it's a good fan base, but boy, did that look cool last night. And I love those jerseys, and it's kind of crazy how the Spurs have a great logo and great uniforms that are like very bland colors, black and silver, that's all it is. But then they also have, as their alternate, is that low-key the best colorway in sports? The Spurs Fiesta?
It's pretty good.
With the like teal and the orange. Nobody really has anything that looks like that. I could do without the little shapes inside the three-point line, but the court looked cool. Jerseys are great. The logo's awesome. Good. I have no problem with this, especially where they did it like it wasn't like, hey, we're giving away T-shirts. It was a crowd design. It was like in college football where they do the checkerboard at Tennessee or the whiteout at Penn State or something like that. I thought that was cool. Not every team needs to do it. I know the Cavs are trying to bully fans into doing it right now. They probably need to because everybody's showing up in Cavs gear. That was cool what the Spurs did. I'm out on Bill Simmons trashing the Spurs. I know it's not what you asked, but it's getting caught with shrapnel here.
Yeah.
Because that was a bad take, too.
It's a good take. And while we're on sports, this from Dan Patrick today. Dan Patrick has said that the 2030 Super Bowl will be held in Nashville, Tennessee. It is signed and ready to go. Alex Barth, are you in or out on a Super Bowl in Nashville?
So I love Nashville. Nashville is one of my favorite cities. Now, I haven't been in a bit. And I was talking to Jim Murray within the last year, and he said it's not as good anymore. Everything got really expensive, and it's getting corporate, and that obviously sucks. So the Nashville that I remember, I'm in. But I don't know if that Nashville still exists anymore. It'll still probably be good anyway. I can't imagine it's that bad. But like the Nashville I went to, a Super Bowl there would rule. And the other cool thing about Nashville is, and Nashville's not the only city like this. Somebody like, you like Nashville? It's only one street. Yeah, the one street is awesome. It's a 2-mile stretch. I am a sucker for a bar with live music. That you show me a bar with live music, I'm sitting down. I'm in a great mood. I'm loving it. It is just bar with live music, bar with live music, barbecue place, bar with live music, bar with live music, cowboy hats and boots, bar with live music, bar with live music, barbecue, barbecue, bar. What else could you want? And it's like a 2-mile strip from the hockey arena down to the football stadium. And I think they're building the new stadium like right near where the old one is, I believe. So that will still be set up. So you don't have to Uber here or take a train there, or it's all self-contained, which is part of what makes it so cool. So I am very in on the Super Bowl in Nashville. Hopefully the Patriots are in it in 2030 so I can go experience that. Because, like, the whole thing with San Francisco, I'm not complaining I had to go to the Super Bowl. Don't get me wrong. I am very happy that the sports upset me. I appreciate it. It was a great time up until the very end there, and it was super cool to cover. But, like, they had us staying in San Francisco because that's where, like, Radio Row was. But then the Patriots were down in Santa Clara, which is, like, an hour away. Media night was in San Jose, which was more than an hour. I spent more time on that coach bus, I think, than I did in the hotel room. So Nashville, I imagine, would be boom, 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 all right there, which would be cool. And it's just a very fun city.
Are you in or out on the idea of them picking like 4 or 5 places and rotating them. Like if it was New Orleans, LA, Indy, like I feel like people love Indy and New Orleans. Like what if the NFL went to like 4 or 5 places and constantly rotate? Or do you think it's always going to be like, oh, you get a new stadium, you get the Super Bowl?
I think it should bounce around a little bit more. Not everywhere. Not in Indy. It shouldn't be up north. Like not Detroit. The one in New York made no sense.
Yeah.
I'll take this one step further. This is like a hypothetical conversation I had with a buddy one time. You know how in England they have Wembley Stadium, and Wembley Stadium's like not, there's no team. It's not like a team's home stadium. It's the national team plays there, and they do national events there.
Yes, England plays there. Yeah.
Right. So my theory was we should have a stadium, and we can debate on where you would put it. The back and forth we had was Dallas versus Vegas. But like a national stadium, this like epic, big, super high-tech stadium for like the Super Bowl and the college football championship and the March Madness final. You could put, maybe you figure out a way to put a retractable roof on it, but should be outdoors for football. And like you could have, obviously the U.S. soccer team, right? And just have a stadium where we do all our cool stuff.
I'm in on that.
And maybe that's the Rose Bowl. Somebody said that could be where would you put it? Where would you put like the U.S. national stadium?
It's a great question. I think it would be cool to have. It makes no sense to say like Canton but like to have it with a Hall of Fame or something.
Yeah, it's got to be. I think it's got to be somewhere with like nice weather year round.
Yes, yeah, it's got to be. Vegas or Southern California does make sense. Something like that.
Something like that. I go Dallas because there's room.
There's
good weather, and it's like you're not trapped in a time zone. It's kind of in the middle, so it works for everybody. And like if you played the Super Bowl there every year, and that's just like the Super Bowl stadium. Anyway, I don't think that would actually happen, but it was an idea I had once.
I like it, Barth. I like it. That is going to wrap up a Monday night 420 edition of In or Out.
Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. We'll do musings in a little bit, but I do want to talk about the Boston Red Sox, who had a win today, and it still might have been a net negative. This team just cannot catch a break. 90 seconds, no commercials, just the headlines, and we're back here. It's Alex Barth in for Joe Murray.
From the Town Fair Tire Studio, the game is on the Sports Hub. Goes to the backhand and score! Two-hand slam! Boston's home for sports. I love this team! 98.5, the Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
The Red Sox grabbed the Patriots Day win this afternoon at Fenway, beating the Detroit Tigers 8-6. They scored 3 runs in the 7th and twice in the 8th to pull away. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa drove in 2 of those runs, but not all good news for the Red Sox. Starting pitcher Sonny Gray left the game in the 3rd inning with hamstring tightness. He was later placed on the IL. Tyler Samaniego called up in his place. It's an off day for both the Bruins and the Celtics after their game ones yesterday. The Bruins blew a 2-0 lead to lose 4-3 to the Buffalo Sabres. The Celtics routed the Sixers 123-91 at TD Garden. Both of those teams are back in action tomorrow night for their respective game twos. NBA award winner starting to trickle out. Victor Wembanyama is the Defensive Player of the Year for the NBA. In playoff action tonight, they just started the 4th quarter in Cleveland. The Cavs lead the Raptors 87-79. Late in the 2nd quarter in New York, the Knicks lead the Hawks 45-39. And yet to tip off, got an hour and a half till this one gets underway. Western Conference action between the Timberwolves and Nuggets. In the NHL, through 2 periods, the Flyers have a 2-0 lead on the Penguins. They're late in the 2nd period in Carolina with the Hurricanes leading the Senators 2-1. And in the Western Conference games tonight, the Minnesota Wild visit the Dallas Stars and the Anaheim Ducks visit the Edmonton Oilers. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Super Service Today. Upgrade your home with an electric heat pump system from Super Service Today to stay cool this summer, warm all winter, and save on energy costs while reducing your carbon footprint. For a free estimate, visit superservicetoday.com. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9:30.
Listen to it, laugh at it, get mad at it, agree with it, argue about it. It is Boston Sports. Boston Sports. And it is all we do. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
0-2. Little ground ball. Story on a charge. Up and over. Got him.
Nice pick.
Red Sox winning by a final score of 8-6. First Red Sox win when the starter doesn't go 6 innings. The bullpen really had to pick up the Sox today. They split the series, winning this one 8-6.
Oh, never going to be easy, but the offense finally exploded here. You mentioned the bullpen was fantastic. Got to mention Weiser in the 6th. Punching out the 3 guys. He comes in first and third, nobody out. That carried momentum. The Red Sox, they end up putting up, 5 or 6 runs in the last 3 innings off of that. And the bats finally woke up. The Red Sox feels good to get a win going to the Yankee series coming to town.
Back here on 98.5, the Sports of Alex Barth in for Joe Murray. That was the final call from the Red Sox game today. Hey, they got a win. So that's good, right? 8-6. Embracing some small ball. They still have 13. I don't know what's going on with the games tonight. I know they came into today with 13 home runs on the season, which is tied for the fewest, or was tied for the fewest in Major League Baseball. But they embraced the small ball. Slapped the ball around the yard a little bit, manufactured some runs, especially late when they needed to. They weren't swinging out of their shoes. I thought a very controlled approach at the plate. And they were able to put some runs across. Now, I don't know if the analytics nerds will love that. Maybe they tell them to change it. I hope they keep that approach. It's the only way they're going to win games. But at the same time, Sonny Gray leaves with hamstring tightness. He's now on the IL. Hell of an effort by the bullpen, who had to pitch the final 7 1/3. Or 6 1/3. Don't do math on the air. He left with 2 outs in the 3rd inning. And they pitched well, except Ryan Watson got a little wild there at the end. He allowed 3 runs. But for the most part, they pitched well. But an injury, and again, it's not the kind of win. You feel good that they won one and they grinded it out. But that's how they're going to have to win every game. And it's just tough to win every game that way. That's just the reality of it. So,
well, yeah, also, and then, we just played the final call, and Lou brings up Weiser coming in first and third, no outs, and striking 3 guys out. Like, how often is that going to happen?
Yeah.
Not to take a shot at Greg Weiser, but, that hasn't exactly been his MO.
You can't count on that.
No, certainly not. So I don't know what you can count on for this Red Sox team. A good win today. I guess the bats are starting to wake up, a little bit, but Crochet's been bad. Yep. Sonny Gray's now hurt.
Yep.
I mean, I know we're going to have Ian Cundall on next, but, is it Peyton Tolley?
So I like Peyton Tolley. I'm okay with Peyton Tolley coming and joining the rotation, but
you mentioned someone. I don't even know his name that's being
it is. Yeah, he was up for 3 games earlier this year. Tyler Samaniego, if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm guessing they just called a reliever up because they blew through their whole bullpen today and they need an arm tomorrow, and when Gray's spot in the rotation comes up again, that's when we would see Peyton Tolley or whoever. I would hope it's Peyton Tolley. I would assume it's Peyton Tolley. But, I mean, they're going to need bullpen arms. They'll probably make more moves tomorrow. Because, again, they threw today. I'll give you the rundown. Colombe?
Yeah.
Still struggling with that one. Colombe threw 15 pitches in 2/3 of an inning. Zach Kelly, 27 pitches, an inning and 2/3. Giovanni Moran threw 14 pitches, did not record an out. Greg Weiser, very efficient, 10 pitches, 9 strikes, almost had an immaculate inning. Threw 1 inning. Whitlock threw an inning, 12 pitches. Watson threw 29 pitches, an inning and a third. And then they did have to go to Chapman, 13 pitches in 2/3 of an inning. He did get the save. So they're going to need to reset the bullpen tomorrow and probably for the next couple of days as they go through here. I don't believe they have a day off. They do not have a day off. They are... Oh, that's right. The Yankees come to town. It's a big series starting tomorrow, so they'll have to get right for that, and then they'll figure it out. We're taking your calls on all of it. We already talked Bruins. We talked Celtics. I had an idea. I floated this. We were doing In and Out, Super Bowl in Nashville. Should the NFL just build a stadium, or somebody out of the government, I don't know, whoever, should we have like a national stadium there where we have the Super Bowl and the national championship and just all the big stuff? And just Super Bowls on the road. Sean in Marlboro has a thought on that. Sean.
All All right, so first, the good thing about Super Bowl in Dallas is that you never have to worry about the home team playing in the Super Bowl ever again.
That is true.
On to Nashville. I lived there for a year and a half. I've been back for a year. It is absolutely an awful city. It's like Times Square. They shut it down. There's people packing the streets. There's lines for the bars. It's $10, $12 for a beer. Everyone's just sloppy drunk. Not even fun drunk. Everyone's just sloppy. You can't tell what music they're playing because it's just all so loud. The stadium is across the river by the old stadium. Like, it's right next door. It's going to be a nice stadium. It's a nice city. It's usually nice weather. Other than that, I don't know why people go to Nashville anymore because it's just not fun.
Fair enough, Sean. Like, I remember when I went, it was like $5 a beer. We'll use that as a gauge. And I mean, yeah, there were some people that were certainly sloppy drunk, but I remember the music being fine. Thanks for the call. So maybe it's not the same. Maybe it's not the same anymore. So maybe I should be a little more out on it. The proximity would just be good. And then I assume one of the teams would practice at Vandy, which is more or less right there. I don't think it's like exactly next to Nissan Stadium, but it's close. Oh boy, Skaz, I'm back on Google Maps. You remember the last time I was on Google Maps when I did the night show?
You may have to refresh my memory.
What was that? We were looking in Ithaca.
Yes.
I don't remember why.
The golf shop there.
Right. What was it, like Fat Boy Golf or something?
Fat Boy Golf or something, yes. Our old intern Luke.
Did Luke ever get back? Chunky Boys Golf. It's still here.
There it is, yes.
Your review of Chunky Boys Golf is still listed.
Good. That's what I want to hear. Yeah, he's still abroad, I believe.
Oh, okay.
In Spain, I believe. So he is not. But we will have boots on the ground in Ithaca soon enough.
Okay.
And we will have to check out Chunky Boys Golf. I'm still not sure it's real, but
no, it's definitely just somebody's house.
Yes, yeah.
But like, are they making gear and shipping it out of the house? Was it a prank where some kids were like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna put this guy's house on Google Maps under Chunky Boy Golf"?
I think that might be it. I don't know.
If that is, that's a legitimately good prank.
I'm in on that.
I am so in on Chunky Boys Golf.
Got our attention, that's for sure.
Absolutely. They got the attention. I kind of hope one of them is just like, yeah, I was listening to Boston Sports Radio last night. We're on YouTube. They could be tuning in. And they were talking about our dumb little prank on Scott's house.
Yeah. Yep.
Up in the middle of nowhere, upstate New York. Is it in Lansing or? Yeah, it's in Lansing. It's a town up there. I worked at a radio station up there when I was in college, which is where we were looking. I was like, oh, yeah, I was up this way because I don't know what we were talking about, like how far we had to drive for internships or something. And
yeah.
I'm scrolling along. I'm like, what is this? Chunky Boys Golf? I feel like I would remember going to that. All right, we'll revisit when Luke gets back to us. Like, I need to know what the deal is with that. Because if there is merch, I want some.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we need merch.
We need merch. They will become the official golf outfitter. I bet we get Joe in on that, right? I was going to say of the night show. I don't think that's for me to declare.
Joe would be in.
We'll get Joe in on some Chunky
Sneaky
Boys
golf guy, Joe Murray.
All right, let's get back to the Red Sox. Ian Kundle, Sox prospects. He joins us next here. It's Alex Barth in for Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5. You're listening to Joe Murray on
That was Alex Cora earlier today on Sunday. Gray left today's game with hamstring tightness. He's since gone on the injured list. Ian Kundle covers the Red Sox over at Sox Prospects. Does a great job. They all do a great job over there at Sox Prospects. Very helpful website. Very well done website. They do a tremendous job. Ian, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, no problem, Alex. Thanks for having me on.
So what was your reaction to, let's just start with the game itself. The Red Sox, they're finally able to manufacture some runs. They break out this small ball, whether it was intentionally or unintentionally late in the game. They're able to string some hits together, put some runs across the plate. Is this sustainable? Is this who they can be? Is this who they will be? Or are they just, is this not something you think they would embrace long term?
I think this is how, if they're going to win, they're going to have to win based on how this team is constructed. They're going to have to string hits together. You can't count on home runs with this current team. And they're going to need good pitching. And, they were able to cobble it together with their bullpen today. I think some guys have really stepped up lately. Like Greg Weissert, I think, has been much better since Justin Slayton's went out, and he had a big inning today. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be fine margins like this. It's going to be a lot of close games, and they're going to have to do the little things right. And they got lucky today that the Tigers didn't do those little things. They had a couple errors. Their pitchers couldn't throw strikes for the majority of the game. So I think that's kind of the formula for this team to win right now with how much they're struggling to produce runs.
Yeah, the Red Sox drew 8 walks. I think it was 6 in the first 4 innings, if I have that correct, or 6 in the 4th inning. Yeah, Flaherty had 6. He left after 3 in the 3rd. And the Red Sox really weren't scoring at that point. Their runs came later. They scored 3 in the 7th, 2 in the 8th, and then the Tigers responded with 3 in the 9th to make it close, and it ultimately was. Do you think that, I know I kind of just asked this, but just to narrow in on it specifically at the plate, like, we know that they have a certain philosophy. It's driven by the analytics of how they approach things at the plate, and we haven't seen them play this style of baseball a lot. Is this a change do you think they would make, or are they going to stick to, this is what we believe in, that was a one-off, if we go with our core beliefs over time, it'll net out and turn the lineup around?
I mean, I think that, Craig Breslow, Alex Cora, they've been pretty consistent with the way they want to have, the way they envision this offense working. And so, yeah, I think that long term, they're banking on some guys turning their power around. I think Roman Anthony, Wilson Contreras obviously is hitting for power, Muller Brady has been, but I think Roman Anthony especially, the underlying data is still really good there. I think there's going to be more power to come. But even with that, you're still only talking about a few guys in the lineup. So they're going to have to get more production from others. And if that's singles, which, base hits, stringing things together, playing small ball, that's probably going to be the way to do it. And you saw today, I think, kind of a sign of things to come. Jaron Duran got pinch hit for by IKF. Son Rafael, a pinch hit for Marcelo Meyer. I think we're going to see Alex Cora start to be way more aggressive using his bench because, what they were doing for the last few games and up to this point really hasn't been working. So at this point, with guys who aren't producing, he's going to have to leverage those platoon advantages as much as possible. On
Anthony, he's now reached base in 4 games in a row. He had 3 walks, or sorry, more than 4 games in a row. I was just looking at walks. I wasn't looking. Oh, he has an 0-4 there in Detroit. He's kind of turned a corner here. Had a couple of hits, couple of multi-hit games, that Twin Series, 3 walks today. Are you seeing things start to click for him where he is going to be able to start producing a little more?
Yeah, I think moving Wilson Contreras behind him in the lineup was a very smart decision. I think something that's going to really benefit him long term because we saw earlier in the year when he had Trevor Story hitting behind him, teams just weren't going to throw him strikes. There was even that game in Cincinnati where they intentionally walked him. And with Contreras as one of the better hitters on the team, he's someone you don't want to put a free base runner on. So I think we saw it today. Anthony's going to get more pitches. Today he was very patient, took his 3 walks, but he's had a hit. And again, I keep harping. I know I harp on it a lot, but underlying data with him is fantastic. And the guy hits the ball extremely hard. He checks all the boxes you look for in a position player prospect. Or a position player, frankly, he's not a prospect anymore. It's just he's off to a slow start. Does he need to cut down the strikeouts a little bit? Yes, but even with that, he's at 26%, which on this team is not that bad compared to some of the other guys. And I think the most encouraging thing is we saw a good throw from him, and he's had his issues with his mechanics earlier in the season. That one looked a lot more fluid, a lot better. Was really accurate, which I think has been the biggest issue. We've seen a lot of throws tailing up the line, so it was encouraging to see that also this series. So yeah, I think Anthony's going to start to turn the corner, and he's going to have one of those months pretty soon where he hits like 350 with 5, 6, 7 home runs. I think it's just a matter of time.
Meanwhile, on the mound, Sonny Gray to the IL, and Cora said there, like nothing major, but clearly major enough that he's going to have to miss now at least a couple of starts. The Red Sox have a few days till they have to fill that spot, and they called up earlier today, Tyler Samaniego go in the bullpen. They need the arms after having to use all those different guys today. But when that turn comes around, do you expect it to be Peyton Tolley? And what have you made in Peyton Tolley's start to the year so far in Worcester?
I do think it's going to be Peyton Tolley, and they had him ready to go just in case. He didn't pitch this past weekend when they were out in Nashville, just in case they needed a starter for a doubleheader today. Now with Gray going on the IL, he's going to have to be. He's really the only option. They only have 2 pitchers on the 40-man roster in AAA right now, so it's either him or Jake Bennett, and Jake Bennett's never pitched in the majors. So I think it's Tolley, and Tolley's looked really good in AAA. He's thrown 15 innings, sub-3 ERA. He's striking out 19 strikeouts, 4 walks. The stuff is just as electric as we saw, in that first start last year where the fastball is dominating hitters. But I think the biggest development for him this year so far is the evolution of his cutter. His cutter is thrown at 27% of the time right now, and opponents just haven't hit it. The expected batting average against it is 0.45, and it's got a 32% whiff rate. And that's not really a pitch that's supposed to get whiffed for him, but it is right now. And talking to some scouts who've seen him, having seen him myself, that's a pitch now that you're starting to hear above average, maybe even plus, depending on who you talk to. And given he was someone who last year the secondaries were the big limitation, the development of that pitch, along with continued refinement, his curveball changeup, I think has him a lot better prepared for the next time or whenever he gets that call up. I think that we're going to see a completely different pitcher than we did last season.
Does that help him? I know there's been some debate about where his long-term fit is, whether it's in the bullpen, whether it's in the rotation. That secondary pitch development, that has to help him stick in the rotation, right?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. Because he's got one of the best fastballs in all of baseball, and he's doing it again this year. He's sitting in the high 90s from the left side. Pitch has a whiff rate above 30%. It's a dominant fastball. He's throwing 2 variations, kind of like Derek Crochet does with the sinker and the 4-seam. But the big question is, do you have some soft stuff that you can use to get hitters out and keep them off balance? And he's throwing his curveball about 11% of the time, changeup 10%, and then he's got that cutter at 27%. And when you have those 3 pitches, and he's just got a lot better feel for them this year, he's commanding them better. It's really allowing the fastball to play up and allowing them to play better, because hitters can't just sit fastball anymore. They do have to worry about the secondary pitches. And with him, with how good a fastball is, the bar is not that high for his secondaries, but they're getting better, and that's why he's one of the top pitching prospects in all of baseball. Over Baseball America, he's in consideration next month. Going to be the top pitching, could be the top pitching prospect in baseball, depending on how things shake out with all the graduations. So, yeah, I think everything we've seen from him at the AAA level, he's hitting all those benchmarks that you were hoping to start the season.
Again, we're talking to Ian Kundle from Sox Prospects. Got the Yankees coming in. Always a big series. They are in first place in the division, but the Red Sox, with their starter, only 4 games back. Nobody's really pulled ahead in this division. What are you expecting from this series? And if the Red Sox are starting to turn a corner, how big is it for them to do it this week?
This is as big as it gets. I know it's only an April series, but we're going to learn a lot about this team in this series. The Yankees come to town. As you said, they're both struggling. Frankly, no one in the American League has separated themselves. And I think that's the benefit for the Red Sox. You look, they're, as you said, 4 games behind the Yankees. They're in the American League West. They'd be 2 games out of first place. So the good news is they haven't dug themselves that big of a hole. And if they can come out here and win 2 out of 3 from the Yankees, I think that will set them on a path towards, maybe not reaching the heights that everyone expected coming to the year, but at least being a team that can, around the trade deadline, you have some decisions to make about whether to buy or what to do.
Ian Kundle from Sox Prospects. I just pulled up your Twitter here to credit you. Is that the Canaligator in your Twitter picture?
Yeah, it is. It is, yeah.
Lowell Spinners. I worked for the Lowell Spinners for a couple years out of college. I know they're coming back as a college ball team, but the Red Sox Lowell Spinners were a good time.
100%. And Penny League is one of my favorite experiences with scouting the Penn League.
There you go. Ian Kundle. Go check out his picture of the Canaligator at Ian Kundle on social media and, of course, on Sox Prospects as well. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
No problem, Alex. Anytime.
There you go. That is right. So we got, not only do we have the Celtics and Bruins in the playoffs and the draft, it is Red Sox Yankees too, at least to start the week. It doesn't overlap with the draft, but this is, as far as it goes, is a pretty good sports week.
Tomorrow, you get Celtics 76ers, which I know it's not a real rivalry anymore.
Yeah, I'll still enjoy. It's a different kind of enjoy, but I'll still enjoy them blowing the doors off the Sixers.
Bruins and Sox against 2 New York teams, not the Buffalo. I don't really even consider them. I did see did you see the Twitter reaction to Canada?
Yeah.
No. It's like, I guess people don't really watch. Maybe that's just because we work here that we're...
Right.
But yes, they do that. The Jeremy Conley was like, yeah, they do that every game because a lot of their season ticket holders are Canadian. So
they're not just Maple Leafs fans?
Too far, I guess. And
I guess so. Yeah. I know that the Bills have a lot of Toronto fans, but They have their own hockey team. I didn't know it crossed over like that.
I don't hold the same animosity for Buffalo that I do the other New York teams or the East Rutherford teams.
My animosity for Buffalo's up there.
Well, that's because you lived in Ithaca.
I lived up there. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. All right. We got to get a quick check of the headlines. We'll be back on the other side. It's Alex Barth in for Joe Murray.
Sports Hub headlines presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
The Red Sox grabbed the Patriots Day win this afternoon at Fenway, beating the Detroit Tigers 8-6. They scored 3 runs in the 7th and 2 in the 8th to pull away. However, not all good news. Starting pitcher Sonny Gray left the game in the 3rd inning with hamstring tightness. He was later placed on the IL. Tyler Samaniego called up in his place.
open to trading him. The New England Patriots have wanted him all along. It's hard to see another team jumping in, but you never know what could happen over the course of the next 5 or 6 weeks. But there is that relationship that exists between the Patriots head coach, Mike Vrabel, and A.J. Brown, and now it'll be interesting to see if the Philadelphia Eagles would look to address the wide receiver position in the draft this week, or whether they feel it's sufficient to have gone out and signed Elijah Moore, Hollywood Brown, and traded for Dontavian Wicks. Patriots also have to figure that the overwhelming chances are they're going to be getting a wide receiver, a big-time wide receiver, after June 1st. We'll see how that factors into their thinking going into the draft.
Until 11 o'clock, you want to join us, 617-779-0985. That was the latest from Adam Schefter today. We'll do some football here, 2.5 hours into the show. I think I've held out long enough. My friend was talking to a buddy of mine. He's like, oh, you're going to do draft talk tonight? You're on. You got 4 hours to talk the draft. Well, there's playoffs going on. So we're going to lead with that. And even before we get to the draft, we'll get to this A.J. Brown stuff. Adam Schefter writing in a column today that, quote, no matter what happens at this week's draft, an A.J. Brown trade to the Patriots is still on the table and still tracking to happen on or after June 1st per league sources. The two sides have discussed the deal, but neither has been willing to commit to it until after June 1st, when Brown's $40 million salary cap charge would be split between this and next year. So, going to cut in right there, first off. It's not happening at the draft. I'm still getting the occasional question, would you trade 31 for A.J. Brown? Yeah, I would. It's not happening. The Eagles are not taking on that cap hit. He's not getting traded before June 1st. That has always seemed like the case, and Schefter kind of hammering it home. He continues. All the elements remain in place to make it happen, and Brown to the Patriots is still the likely outcome, just not during this week's draft. Put the trade on hold for now, but things will soon quickly warm back up. The Eagles remain open to trading Brown. The Patriots remain highly interested in acquiring the star receiver, and conversations are expected to resume shortly on or before June 1, probably culminating in a deal per league sources. The Patriots remain at the forefront of trade talks for Brown. Another team could always emerge, and there's a lot of time left between now and June 1, but as of now, multiple sources say they believe Brown and the Patriots are likely to become a tandem. And I'll just add to complete the circle here, A.J. Brown not in attendance in Philadelphia today as the Eagles began their offseason program. So in a way, there's nothing new here, and in another way, it is kind of new. A.J. Brown to the Patriots, a possibility, a strong possibility. Feels like that had been out there. This is maybe the most directly I've seen it said. And then you had some follow-up reports where, like, you had Jordan Schultz talking about the Patriots maybe trading Kayshon Boutte, and he referenced, quote, the eventual A.J. Brown trade. So you really hear it going that way. You get the little bit about it's not going to happen before the draft. And there's something else he said in there, and this really hammers home how I feel about it, which was the Patriots remain at the forefront of the trade talks for Brown. Another team could always emerge, and there's a lot of time between now and June 1st. But as of now, multiple sources say they believe Brown and the Patriots like to become a tandem. This is where I'm at. As it currently exists, as the situation currently exists, I think A.J. Brown to the Patriots is the most likely outcome. That's not, I don't know anything. That's just me reading the tea leaves. I think A.J. Brown to the Patriots is the most likely outcome based on things existing as they exist today. But the trade can't be made today. Can't be made until June 2nd. It's post-June 1st. So the trade can't be made till June 2nd. Let's say Puka Nacua goes, and there's OTA practices in between. Let's say Puka Nacua goes out and something happens and now he's unavailable. And the Rams are in the back end of this window with Matthew Stafford. Do they suddenly offer a lot more than they previously were? Do they panic and give a Godfather offer because they need A.J. Brown? Like, something like that could happen. Which is why the idea of, draft a player for the Eagles and trade him to them. Or, they know. You can't know until you know. You haven't caught the fish till you've got it in the boat. But pending something like that, yeah, it feels like A.J. Brown's going to be Patriot. For the most part, I'm happy about that. They need that coverage dictating receiver. They need the guy at the top of the depth chart. His contested catchability will work incredibly well with Drake May, given May's accuracy and his big arm. I don't love the idea of giving up a future first. If they can get it done for a second or less, great. I don't love the idea of giving up a future first because you just don't know what the future is going to hold. You don't know where that pick's going to be. You don't know what your needs are. That is a very, very, very valuable asset for a guy that is 29 years old. That's just the reality of it. I would give up 31 because I know where 31 is, and I know what this draft is, and I can see bluntly what the alternatives would be. I can't do that with the 2027 pick, or as I think somebody floated today, the 2028 pick, even potentially being in play. And that's where, like, do you send Kayshon Boutte back to Philly? And that lessens the draft load or whatever. I would love to see them get, if they can get this done without giving up a first round pick, and we'll see what happens in the draft. But like decent draft, and then you get that done, that's the cap on a home run of an offseason for me. If they give up a first round pick, it still wasn't a bad offseason, but you really did, like, that window becomes a lot shorter. You really need to capitalize now.
I think it's almost insane if they have to give up a first-round pick at this point, knowing what we know.
It's all the Buffalo Bills' fault, because if DJ Moore's worth a second, then yes, A.J. Brown is worth a first. But DJ Moore is not and was never worth a second. He was worth a fourth at most. But that organization in Buffalo has no idea what it's doing, and they'd have ruined it for the rest of us. The only good part of that trade for the Bills was screwing over the Patriots in trying to get a wide receiver. What were we just talking about? Animosity with Buffalo?
Yes, exactly. But I just think if you look at, and you make a good point, because that's exactly what the Eagles are going to say. That's going to be their, point of view. But from a Patriots point of view, and honestly from a league point of view, you look at what the Eagles have done, adding Wicks, adding Hollywood Brown, like Schefter says in that clip, like, they are clearly moving on from A.J. Brown. They have no leverage. Yes. So as a fan, the Patriots are really going to have to sell me on this move if it's a first-round pick.
It is Howie Roseman, though. Do you think he'd hold on to A.J. Brown so he doesn't lose the deal?
No, I don't think he would. I think he's a good enough GM that he wouldn't do that.
I've seen him work his magic. I don't think he's going to get a first. I wouldn't be totally surprised, just because of what I've seen him do in the past. He can figure that stuff out. So that'll be interesting to see what happens. Then there's the Kayshon Boutte side of it. I like Kayshon Boutte. I think Kayshon Boutte's a good player. If A.J. Brown is here, and A.J. Brown is presumably here to play the X, and then you have Romeo Doubs is the Z in that Edelman role. It was Diggs' role last year. You have Pop Douglas in the slot. You have Mac Hollins, who Drake May likes at the X. Still trying to develop Kyle Williams, who's an XZ. What's Kayshon Boutte doing? At best, he's your second X. Splitting time with Mac Hollins, 2.5 on the depth chart. He's in a contract year. Probably not going to pay him if you have A.J. Brown here. So, again, I like him. I think he's a solid player. I think he's like a solid, contributing, complimentary wide receiver. But to keep him here for 1 year in a reduced role, just to lose him in free agency, when you can get something for him, or at least lessen the cost of A.J. Brown if the Eagles want him, because the Eagles will need somebody in that role, it just makes too much sense to me. For a guy that, as good as he's been, has never broken 600 yards in a season. He was on pace to do it last year. He only played 2024. He only played 15 games. He was just under the pace last season, 2025. He had 551 yards. The touchdown number was good. And the yards per catch number was good, 16.7. But a guy that has kind of proven he's a complimentary player, if you can get a top 150 pick for him, if you're getting A.J. Brown, by all means. After you're not getting A.J. Brown, they need him. That becomes a different story. But that didn't surprise me. I know Jordan Schultz, I saw somebody tweet today, like, Jordan Schultz has been trying to trade Kayshon Boutte for 3 years. Some of it was unfounded. If they're getting A.J. Brown, it makes sense. I don't think it happens until they get A.J. Brown, because, again, like, you can't count on that trade happening until it happens. I don't think they're going to trade Boutte during the draft. But I do think moving him makes sense. 617-779-0985. You want to talk Patriots? Let's go to Steve in Miami on that. Steve.
How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Okay, first of all, I still think that George Pickens will become available because Jerry Jones has a way of getting rid of players, and I'd rather have Pickens because he's younger, hasn't had a knee problem, than A.J. Brown. Now, if they don't get Pickens, yes, I want A.J. Brown, but between the two, I'd go with the younger guy who has not had a health issue. And now the other thing I want to bring up is...
Real quick on that. Are you factoring in it's going to cost a heck of a lot more to get George Pickens in his A.J. Brown? Now you're giving up the future first probably and then some.
Well, but wouldn't you give up a future first for George Pickens? I would.
I think it's going to be more than that. I think it's going to be very expensive. I'd have to see the deal, but I think you're talking about...
Of course.
Yeah. What was your other point?
Yeah. Now, the other point is, I think if there's a trade, it probably already is. I mean, I know in the NBA, when they have the draft, they don't announce it until after the draft is over that so-and-so has been traded, the number 5 pick has been traded for the number 10 pick and all that. Yeah. I think there could be a trade already in place like that, and so I'm going to be very interested to see what the Patriots pick at number 31 to see if that's the player that gets moved for A.J. Brown.
So, Steve, I wouldn't read into that for two reasons. One, it would be nearly impossible to do that in the NFL. There's really no history of it being done. One, there's practices that happen between the draft and the trade deadline, so you would have a player you don't plan on keeping on your team come into your practices, and it would look very, very weird if that player just skips those practices. And two, even if they were to do that, the Patriots and Eagles' needs are actually very similar. And any player the Patriots are going to draft for the Eagles, I'm guessing, would be a player that would very much fit in their own plans as well.
Okay, I was just thinking what the NBA does, draft people for other teams.
Yeah, I get it. I actually had somebody call on Sunday say the same thing. It's the way the NFL's set up. It would be nearly impossible to do that logistically.
Okay. Well, great show.
Thank you.
Let's put it this way. We'll know in just a week about the draft, and we'll know in just around a month and a quarter regarding A.J. Brown.
That's right. Thanks for the call, Steve. I was putting in some days off. Yes, I'm actually going to try to take some days off this summer. And I made sure, because I was like, this weekend I might go play golf with some friends. Oh, nope. I got to be back June 1st. I know that June 2nd's the deadline. The train can't happen on June 1st. That's a Monday. I'm like, all right, let me make sure I'm back Sunday afternoon. And then Monday, it's all hands on deck. And I will be up at that midnight into Tuesday and it locked in, because then we're on A.J. Brown watch. We will know by then. 617-779-0985. You want to talk about the Patriots' plans, but we do have coming up next, musings. It's Alex Barth in for Joe Murray.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. On the way on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You want a random take? Murray's got all sorts on stuff in the world unrelated to sports. So sit back, relax, and get your mind in the game and listen to the word.
It's been 2 hours I've been supposed to do this. And right before the segment, Skaz, I got to do the read. Skaz, remind me to do the read. Skaz, I need to make sure I do this read. And I'm not blaming Skaz for not reminding me. I'm doing that to remind myself. I hadn't done it. So, my opening take, which again was hours ago, was presented by Super Service Today. Upgrade your home with an electric heat pump system from Super Service Today to stay cool this summer, warm all winter, and save on energy costs while reducing your carbon footprint. For a free estimate, visit superservicetoday.com. Does that qualify as it?
Barth, I can happily tell you that is not the first nor the last time the opening take has been read at 9:58 on the Joe Murray Show. So,
does it get read as a part of musings?
No, but
okay.
Sometimes we do it post game. Sometimes we just forget. We don't have a ton of full shows too often, so I'll take some blame absolutely there. Joe Murray, myself. We're not always. The live reads sometimes are they're in there, but sometimes our pace to them is we get them done, but it might be a little later than intended.
So my other musing is today the best Boston sports tradition, Marathon Monday, and everything that comes with it. The marathon itself, you go down wherever. I used to go in Brookline. I used to go by Coolidge Corner. Some people go in Newton. Some people go closer to the finish line. I feel like everybody, if you grew up here, you've lived here long enough, you have your marathon plan. It's the Red Sox game. Like my brother likes to go to the Red Sox game. That's his plan, and I think he made his way down by the finish line after the game. Is this the best Boston sports tradition that we have? We came up with a list, Skaz, before the show, of Boston sports traditions, and I don't think anything topped this. So here's what we came up with, and you tell me if any of these are a better tradition than Marathon Monday. The first thing that Skaz said when I go, what other Boston sports fan traditions do we have? The first thing Skaz says, Truck Day, Dick Flavin.
R.I.P. Dick Flavin. I thought that was a great tradition. We'd get his poem, the Poet Laureate, every year.
Better than Marathon Monday, though?
No, certainly not.
Okay.
Maybe if you're Rochi, but even he, I think, would say Marathon Monday is tops.
The Bruins having a banner captain.
No.
Playoff banner captain? No, yeah, I'm with you. That's a fun one.
Did you see who threw out the first pitch today over
Who
at
did?
Fenway? It was Johnny Gomes.
Oh.
Yeah.
I started talking about him on the broadcast a little bit.
Yep.
I liked Johnny Gomes.
Yeah, he's fine. Fine. Just don't get in his way in the supermarket.
No, you do not want to come between Johnny Gomes and his produce.
No, never.
And I just put these in the order that we were talking about him, and I texted some buddies. Sweet Caroline.
Out. Hard out.
Better or worse tradition than Marathon Monday?
Maybe the worst.
Here's my thing with Sweet Caroline. Like, Josie, right, at Gillette. They don't play Josie if the Pats are losing. They only play it if the vibes are already high. It's a celebration. You have to earn Josie. If they only played Sweet Caroline when the Sox are winning, or at least it was a close game, right? Let's say they're like down 4-1. They score a couple of runs. Now they're down 4-3. Like, yeah, okay. We're getting the vibe up. Geno time. They don't do Geno time at the Celtics. If they're losing, they don't even do it every time when they win. They have to be blowing a team out to do Geno time. If they treated Sweet Caroline like that, I'd be a little more into it. Although I still think they should replace it with Mr. Brightside. But the fact they play it every game, the Red Sox just gave up 4 runs and now they're losing. Let's all sing Sweet Caroline. No, out. Other Boston sports traditions. We threw Keeper of the Light on there. That is a new one.
A new tradition. A very new tradition.
It's not hasn't quite caught up to Marathon Monday yet. Maybe someday. There used to be the Celtics were at home on St. Patrick's Day or the Friday of St. Patrick's Day. The Bruins playing at home on Black Friday. I don't think either of those exist anymore. I think both leagues have gone away from doing that, which is a shame. Your Love by the Outfielder was also on there. And then I had a friend text me. I put in the group chat. Best Boston sports traditions? And within seconds, this guy replies, hyping up their own prospects, realizing they low-key kind of suck too late, then watching careers fizzle. Better, worse Boston sports tradition than Marathon Monday.
It's a timeless tradition.
It is.
It's a tradition unlike any other.
We do that.
I would say part of what makes, today so great is the Bruins and Celtics still being in it.
Yeah,
too. Like,
it's
I
a lot
think
more fun with the playoffs.
that adds to it. The rare occasion where we get the Bruins or Celtics game on. It doesn't usually happen with the Celtics, but I feel like it's happened with the Bruins maybe once or twice. But today's like this is what you want. I know it didn't go very well for the Bruins last night, but this is exactly what being from around here is all about.
It's a good 24, 36 hours.
Absolutely. Sign me up.
617-779-0985. Are there any Boston sports traditions that we missed or that you particularly enjoy? We'll take your calls on those. We'll get back into some Patriots stuff as well. Reset on the Celtics and Bruins. After these headlines, 90 seconds, no commercials here on the Sports Hub.
From the Delaware Tiger Studios, this is Boston's home for sports. The flagship station of the Patriots, Bruins, the Celtics, WBCFM and HD Boston 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Leslie Media Group Station celebrating 65 years of broadcasting.
Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
The Red Sox grabbed the Patriots Day win this afternoon at Fenway, beating the Detroit Tigers 8-6. Not all good news for the Sox, though. Starting pitcher Sonny Gray left the game in the third inning with hamstring tightness. He's since been placed on the IL. Tyler Samaniego was called up in his place. It's an off day for both the Bruins and the Celtics. They had game one of their respective series yesterday. The Bruins lost 4-3 to the Sabres. The Celtics routed the Sixers 123-91. Both teams back in action for Game 2 tomorrow night. In the NBA, Victor Wembanyama has been named the Defensive Player of the Year. Also, some playoff games in action tonight. One in the books as the Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Toronto Raptors 115-105 to take a 2-0 series lead. They're in action right now late in the third quarter. The Knicks lead the Hawks 89-77. And we're about half an hour away from tip-off out west with the Denver Nuggets hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves. In the NHL playoffs, it is down to the wire between the Carolina Hurricanes and Ottawa Senators. 2.5 minutes to go in that one, tied at 2. They are also in action in Dallas about halfway through the first period. No score between the Stars and the Wild. Still to come tonight, the Ducks and the Oilers. And one game has gone final. The Flyers shut out the Pittsburgh Penguins 3-0 to take a 2-0 series lead. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Boston Prolotherapy. Don't let joint pain keep you off the court, course, or trail. Eliminate that pain with Dr. Franke of Boston Prolotherapy. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 10:30.
Diving effort. But he's got a breakaway. To the backhand. Throws it in front. Coming to the spot. The Sports Hub.
Back here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Alex Barth in for Joe Murray. 1 hour to go. You want to join us? 617-779-0985 on what is a very sporty time of year. Skaz, I don't know if I've brought this up on the show. So we have, apparently a lot of people in the corporate world know about this because I mentioned it on a podcast and people got all excited. You know what a sauna is?
A sauna? Like sitting in the sauna?
No. Well, yes. Very, very good. A hospital, what is it? It's a big building full of sick people, but that's not important right now. It's just like this portal that's basically a big to-do list, and I'm on it, Dolloff's on it, Ty's on it, Jake's on it. It helps us organize what we're going to write, right? So, like, if there's a section that's just like short-term ideas, like these are the stories that need to get covered today. Dolloff has a section of like longer term stuff he's working on. I have a section of longer term stuff I'm working on. There's a separate section for all the draft stuff. It's almost cleared, by the way. And checking the final thing off the draft to-do list, which I get to do on Wednesday, is such a dopamine hit.
Love that.
When I do it every year. Usually, I can't fit the whole thing on my screen when I started because I put everything in at the beginning of February that I'm going to do for the whole draft process. And there are 3 things left on the draft to-do list. That's good.
Exciting stuff right there.
And they're not difficult either. They're not long form. Like there's some long form stuff on there. Oh, we're almost there. But in my regular to-do, Barth stuff, there is an item. I wonder if I can see the date this was created. Because it was a bit ago. I don't know if it has this kind of information on here. But ranking, I can't see when it was created. February 27th, 2023. So this has been sitting in my to-do list for almost 3 years, and I still have not gotten around to it. I will one day. Ranking the best sports months, the best months to be a sports fan. Are we in the best month right now? I'm going to run you off some of what I have for April here. And this was more national. You've got, I counted March Madness as March, so I know you have the college basketball championship, but that goes up to March. You've got the Masters. Oh, no, I did have the Final Four here. The Masters, the Final Four, the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, the NFL draft, and MLB opening day. What's topping that? There's one contender, but I'm going to ask you off the top of your head, what's topping that?
Yeah, maybe the fall, but I think this is maybe the most hopeful of the sports months, kind of, with the NFL draft and the start of MLB season. Like, I know the Red Sox didn't exactly get off to a roaring start.
We had hope for like a day and a half.
They want to know, right?
Yeah, they want to know. They were over 500 at one point.
But you have that. Every team is undefeated. The NFL draft, you get excited about a guy you've never seen tape of unless you're Alex Barth. The Masters, who isn't in on the Masters around here, we get to kind of, I would say, 95% of people that are watching the Final Four are doing so for leisure. It's none. We don't really have any allegiances or ties, so it's strictly for UMass and Boston College aren't making it to the Final Four. I'm sorry, that's not happening.
Well, they're ways away. That's fair.
Ways away. Maybe Luke Murray can change that. Shout out Luke Murray, but. I think in terms of just all-around viewing pleasure, this is right at the top there with the Masters and the Final Four, and baseball is, spring is coming, summer is on the way. Like, I would say this is the most hopeful time to be a sports fan.
The only month that might push it, and the other thing is just like the weather, right? It's getting nice out. We're coming out of the winter, all that. The only month that maybe challenges it is October. Because you have all four sports. The only time you can get the equinox, I guess like the first couple days in November you can get it. But the equinox, right? All four leagues playing on the same day. You have the NBA season starts, the NHL season starts. You have the MLB playoffs. The NFL has been going. You also have college football. So there's only one playoff. It's mostly regular season. There's two playoffs here, but you have them all going at once. So that would be the competition for it in my mind. But this might be the best. What's the worst? What is the worst sports month?
Like the middle of the summer when the MLB All-Star game is like the only thing going on. I feel like that's got to be up there.
So July, sneaky lot going on. Here's the list I had for July. Now, some of these are niche events, and some of them I put in because I was trying to get as many as I could. So you might roll your eyes at some of these. But you have the MLB All-Star game and Home Run Derby, and the MLB draft, and the MLB trade deadline. You also have NBA free agency, right, on July 1. NHL free agency on July 1. You also have the Open Championship, start of training camp, the Tour de France, if you're into that thing, and the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest, if you're into that. So there is a lot of stuff going on, but maybe it doesn't rise to the level. August is just the NFL preseason and the U.S. Open. August is the dead period. You get NFL roster cuts, I guess, at the end of the month. That's pretty much it. But I think August is the worst one. The best, you could debate me. April and October, 617-779-0985. But October's not bad. College basketball starts. Obviously, like the week of Thanksgiving for all the football you get, pro and college is great. December, January, February, NFL playoffs, Super Bowl. February is going to be like the whole month of February now we're going to get as NFL playoffs when they go to 18 games. You also have you get the NBA trade deadline in February. You get spring training beginning, pitchers and catchers, the Daytona 500 if you're into that. And then March is, opening day, March Madness, the players, NFL free agency. So, it's really, there's not that much of a dead period. It's just August. The best month you can debate. The worst, I think, is clearly August. But I guess we're not that far from that. I just wanted to be summer weather. Next Sunday needs to be, every year, I'm like, as soon as I get done with draft stuff that Sunday, I'm going to go to the beach. Because all draft season, that's what I think about, besides prospects, is like enjoying the beach, enjoying my summer, and it keeps being cloudy and raining. And like 50 degrees that Sunday after the draft. It is current forecast, 55 and cloudy, no rain, but I would love it if that would turn. 617-779-0985. You want to weigh in on the best sports month, the best Boston sports traditions. We can also reset the Celtics and the Bruins, the Patriots, the Red Sox. We've talked about them all. We got about 45 minutes to go. Take your calls the rest of the show, 617-779-0985. It's Alex Barth in for Joe Murray.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5. You're listening to Joe Murray.
here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Alex Barth in for Joe Murray tonight. Taking your calls up until 11 o'clock. We were talking about Best Sports Month. Best Boston Sports Traditions is today. Marathon Monday, the best Boston sports tradition. All 4 teams on the table as well with the playoffs, the Red Sox, and the draft. Let's go to Joe in the car. I can't believe we missed this, Joe. Go ahead. Call me out.
Yeah. I don't think it tops the marathon for sure, but I mean, anyone from the area who grew up around here knows like one of the best blue blood Boston sports traditions is the bean pot.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't get huge coverage or like, outside the region, not a big deal, but definitely one of the best traditions we've got.
No, Joe, that's on me. You're right. And maybe it's because I didn't go to college around here. I grew up here, but I didn't go to college around here. That's a miss on my part. So thank you for calling in with that.
Good list. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, Skaz, you weren't a beanpot guy, right? You didn't go to beanpot school?
No. I didn't go to one, but I've been.
Yeah,
to the beanpot. Yeah.
But upstate New York, I wasn't thinking that. We have Cortica. That's our big thing.
Yeah.
No, the beanpot absolutely belongs on the list. I think it's cool too. Like there was a baseball beanpot that they would play at Fenway. I don't know if they still do that. And I know at one point there was talk of a lacrosse beanpot. I don't know if that ever materialized. They should expand that. And I get it's special for hockey. I don't want to downplay the hockey one, but we should be doing that in every sport. And maybe it's not those 4 schools. Maybe it's different schools, or maybe some have like a bigger, pool of teams or whatever. But we should be doing beanpots in different sports. The beanpot is absolutely one of the best traditions in Boston sports. 617-779-0985 if you have any others that belong on that. I knew we were missing one. I knew we were missing at least one. And if somebody asked a question on Twitter, not call in, but ask a question on Twitter, hey, great show. 49ers, what position do you see them drafting on Thursday? I don't know. They kind of take anything. We were talking about Mike Evans during the break and him going out there. I don't know how much 49ers radio we're about to do. It is kind of relevant to the Patriots, I'll say this, because they do need a tackle. I know Trent Williams got his contract set today, but he's old and they're going to need somebody in the pipeline. So they were a potential tackle team. They're a potential edge team as well. I think that's just always a position you look out for a team adding. So they could snipe a player from the Patriots. It's not impossible. It's a very specific question. Not really sure why that was posed, but there you go. There's a little 49ers talk for you. Oh, I got one, Marathon Monday. Skaz, I'm surprised this wasn't on In or Out. How about those guys drinking the beer out of the shoe at Fenway today?
That's a hard out for me. Shoey, Monday, April 20th, a holiday for some, but I think it's a little early in the season to be pulling the shoey out.
Well, I would also argue you'd rather do it now when the shoe's not as sweaty, right? The feet aren't as sweaty. It's not as hot.
I suppose, yeah.
But also, like, as nasty as it is to drink from the shoe, and who am I to judge? But the thing that always grosses me out with that is the guy then has to put the shoe back on as it's drenched in beer. The shoe has been ruined. The shoe's not coming back from that. You're going to use it to get home, but that's it. That's got to be like uncomfortable and nasty, too.
Yeah, you don't want that to be your shoe. That's for sure.
No, you don't want to be the guy taking your shoe off. I've seen they have like the beer mug that's shaped like a shoe or shaped like a boot. That's fun. Maybe if you have like a new shoe just laying around and you want to do something goofy, I'm not against drinking beer from a shoe altogether. I think that would be short-sighted of me. It's the shoe that has been worn and, more importantly, will have to be worn again. That's where you lose me. It's on the specific kind of shoe or boot. I feel like it's more common for a boot than a shoe because the shoe doesn't necessarily it's not going to hold all the beer. I'm watching this video again now. Like they were topping that thing off. You might need a boot if you really want to do that. Does it change for you at all on the boot or no?
I think the boot's certainly more appealing.
Why? Now, why is that?
I think it's... you ever seen Beer Fest when you got to twist the boot at the end to make the beer go down? Like I feel like that's like maybe that's it. You use that, but
I got a pair of Timberlands. They're pretty nasty. I don't know.
Yeah, I just feel like you're getting more beer in there. So maybe that's, you're shaking up whatever's in there a little more. So it's not the ratio might be a little better with beer to whatever else is in your shoe.
That's fair.
The bigger the shoe.
That's fair. This was a smaller shoe. This actually looks like a shoe that I have.
It didn't look like it was the first day that shoe was worn. I'll say that.
No, I'm trying to see what they're pouring in there. That might be a Sun. Do they sell Sun Cruiser at Fenway?
I mean, they should. A great sponsor of ours, I believe. So yeah.
No, Surfside.
Oh, my apologies. Yeah,
I do like Surfside.
Surfside is
great
good. Sponsor.
Whatever they poured in there, maybe it was a beer. I don't know. It's tough to tell. Well, because the first one's a Bud Light. That I can tell. I know what a Bud Light looks like.
You can spot those a mile away.
Yes, the second one, it's like the guy also gets on a knee to drink it. That's too much.
It's much showmanship for you.
Well, it's not a keg. Like, you're not doing a keg stand with the shit. It's too many things. I cannot tell what this other beverage is. Might be a Truly? No. But like that's the other. Now you're putting vodka in there. It's not carbonated. There's a whole lot going on, and then again you got to put the shoe back on. So you're out on drinking out of the shoe, Skaz.
Yeah, big time out for me. I think at our age, Barth, I think most of my drinks are going to come straight from a can at this point. Maybe a bottle from time to time, but I think
I've gotten really into the chilled glass. Leave a chilled glass in the freezer.
Huge fan of that. That's a pro move right there. You put a couple right on the door, and then you just every time you want one. No, I'm in on that. But yeah, other than that, I don't see too many foreign objects being what I'm drinking beer out of in the near future.
No, red Solo Cup's probably as weird as it's going to get for me.
Yes, yeah, and that season is coming upon.
That is
soon.
coming up. We are getting very close. You can't put the red Solo Cup in the freezer. It doesn't have the same effect. The glass holds the temperature better. So, we got some good hockey games going on too. You see this? Ottawa, Carolina in overtime.
Ottawa, Carolina, Minnesota, Dallas is tied right now.
Tied 1-1.
The Hawks are trying to mount.
Are the Hawks coming back in that? I got to get that game on.
They are down 6. Well, they're down 7, but they're at the free throw line. So, this could be a 5-point game here. So
the NBA needs it. As Bobby was saying earlier, right? The whole first round's gone chalk, except that one game.
Yes, yeah, and that was really the outlier there. I guess you could say, I think you could comfortably call 4 of the series over already. I think the only ones that are really in the balance at all, maybe Minnesota has a chance against Denver. I'm not really a believer. I think Cleveland is certainly going to make quick work of Toronto. Obviously, we know how we feel about Boston and San Antonio. And I think the only one other one that maybe Houston can make a run at the Lakers, but the Lakers looked all right the other night, even with old man LeBron. I thought they looked pretty good. So the NBA needs something. I certainly don't think Phoenix or Portland are going to be the team to make an upset in the first round.
They just need the Spurs to make a run. That was so fun to watch. And he should win. Wembanyama should win MVP. I don't like that they put this whole thing in about the limited games. I get guys were legitimately hurt. You're just going to drop it to give Luka the MVP or whatever. Or who? It should be Wembanyama. I know Gilgeous-Alexander had a good year, but
yes, and I'm a Jokic guy. I'm a believer that Jokic should pretty much win MVP until he's no longer in the league. Like, that's how good I think he is when you just look at his surrounding cast.
Well, he already got robbed of one.
Exactly, yeah. So I just think Jokic is that good, but I have no problem with Wemby or SGA winning it. I know that's a little unpopular, but he is that good. The NBA is in a good spot, and something we talk about at night every once in a while. But when is the next American going to win the MVP in the NBA? Because you look at the landscape of the league.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. It's an international game. The NBA is constantly growing, but it's just one of those things where, Tatum, Cooper Flag, Jaylen Brown, Jaylen didn't even finish as a finalist for the MVP this year,
which is ridiculous.
A little crazy. So, yeah, it's just it speaks to the strength of the league and the strength of the international game.
You hope Tatum's in the mix.
Yeah,
he comes back next year
Anthony
playing like
Edwards,
this
because he's so young.
Anthony Edwards is pretty good.
Paulo, if he ever figures out how to shoot a basketball, would be pretty good.
Who was the last one? Was it Kawhi?
The last? Maybe Harden. I would guess James Harden in 2018. Because I think it's been Giannis, Jokic, Embiid, Luka.
Did Kawhi even win one, or did I just make that up? What was I thinking of? Yeah, it's
he won a
Harden.
Finals MVP. It was
Yeah, that's
Harden.
what I was thinking of. Harden in 18. Yeah, Giannis, Greece. Jokic, that's Serbia. Embiid's Cameroon, but he's also France, but he's also the U.S.
Yes.
Like, didn't he play for Team USA? But that's not.
Changed his citizenship, yes.
It's
later
a Cameroon flag on Wikipedia.
Yes.
Then Jokic again, that's Serbia, and then SGA from Canada. So, no, it's a good question. It's probably going to be. It
Might
has
be a
to be,
while.
right?
It's going to be a while.
None of the finals for American this year.
No, Wemby, Jokic, SGA.
Yeah, so it has to be.
Probably going to be those guys next year and the year after.
That's crazy. Who, if they legit played a game, not an all-star game, they legit played a game, U.S. versus world, who wins?
I think the world wins. I think it's close, but...
So you would have... Trying to think here.
I mean, you could have Jokic, SGA, Wemby, Giannis, Sengun. Not that Sengun's, good, but Denny Avdia. Like, there's a million guys that aren't... I mean, Canada's got a ton of guys right now. Jamal Murray's Canadian, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, it would be SGA, Luka, Giannis, Jokic. That's 4 you're starting 5. I don't think I'm missing anybody in there.
Let's see.
I guess Embiid or Towns at the...
Yeah, Wemby, Luka, SGA, Jokic.
Oh, I didn't say
Giannis.
Wemby. That's who I missed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know how you would fit this, but Luka, SGA, Jokic, Giannis, Wemby. I guess you're playing...
I'd play
Giannis as a big 3 and Jokic as a big 4.
In on that. Sign me up for that. Like Jokic, Giannis, and Wemby out there together. Good luck.
And then it would be what for the Americans? Curry, Tatum.
I mean, yeah, if Steph's still the guy, I mean, you have to think it has to be.
Who else are you putting at guard? De'Aaron Fox? Devin Booker?
That's
DeMar?
Jalen? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Jalen Brown maybe is in the mix. I don't know what you do with Curry, LeBron, Durant.
I think Durant's still there.
Yeah, but it's not inspiring a ton of confidence.
No. I think it's a good question.
Yeah, it might be the world. Now, when you get to the bench, if best of 7 series, the U.S. might win because they have a deeper bench.
Yeah.
They have a much deeper bench, and they're going to be able to roll deeper, and the world would have to rely heavily on their starting 5.
It'd be like Siakam, Jamal Murray.
Right. Sabonis.
Yeah. Guys like that coming. Maybe Neemias Queta.
Yeah.
First Portuguese player ever in the NBA.
So I'm just going off of all NBA teams here. The U.S., you're probably looking at something like Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson, Anthony Edwards, Cade Cunningham. You need a 5 in there. But something like that.
On that. If we can get that to happen at the
I guess
All-Star
Anthony
break,
Davis at the 5, it would be great.
They've kind of talked about doing it at the All-Star game.
Yeah, but nobody would still play it like the All-Star game. They'd still... I'm talking about really going at it.
I think the only way they could get that is if Wemby. Wemby is the kind of linchpin because he's a guy you mentioned with the T-shirts and stuff. He begs the San Antonio crowd. He wants them to come up with chants and do international soccer.
Right.
He's all in. So maybe he can kind of get something like that going. But
it's
I think
tough for the world guys though because you're not really playing for your country.
That's true too. You're playing together for.
It would have to be some sort of 4 nations kind of thing.
Oh, in on that.
Like a basketball 4 nations.
And you're telling me France doesn't want to host something like that? They definitely do. They would be in on that.
Or if you did, remember they did the World Cup of hockey a couple years ago, and it was there was a U-23 team. So you do U.S., Europe, rest of the world, Africa, call it. U.S., Europe, Africa, and then just a U-23 team.
In on that.
That would actually be pretty good. That would be pretty good. We're fixing a lot. We're fixing where to host the Super Bowl. We're fixing the NBA All-Star Game or whatever, whenever you would do that, however you'd have it. We got to hit one more headlines. We'll come back. I do want to kind of reset on the Patriots. We didn't get into a ton of that tonight. We do some Bruins and Celtics as well. Your call, 617-779-0985. It's Alex Barth in for Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
The Red Sox grabbed the Patriots Day win this afternoon at Fenway, beating the Detroit Tigers 8-6, scoring 3 runs in the 7th and 2 in the 8th. It was not all good news, though. Starting pitcher Sonny Gray left the game in the 3rd inning with hamstring tightness. He was later placed on the IL. Murray here on the Sports Hub. Last chance to call in. You want to talk? We can do some draft. We haven't done any draft stuff, Skaz. Can you believe that? Do I go for the full 4 hours, no draft? Just to prove it to him? Oh, he's just a draft guy. He's just a draft nerd.
Yeah, I'd almost be. I feel like we were leaving a little left on the table if Alex Barth didn't at least mention the draft. Are they going to make a pick on Thursday night?
70% yes.
Okay.
I think they would like to trade back. Obviously, they'd like to trade back. Who doesn't want more picks? Like, they're not flying back into the 50s. They're going to stay in the 30s. But there's so many teams in the 30s, the Jets, the Cardinals, even the Raiders, who it makes sense for them to move up. Now, the Seahawks GM came out today and said, like, yeah, we want to trade down. We don't have enough picks. So that, that's going to be the first team's call because it'll cost less because they've lost leverage. But I do think they make a pick. I wouldn't be pissed if they traded back. I mean, if they get a decent return, but I do think they make a pick.
What is a decent return for their pick?
Oh, I mean, it depends how far back you're moving, right? And then there's the whole, this is what's so interesting to me. I'm sorry, I'm kind of, 1 minute to go, the Hawks have come all the way back. This game is tied at 103. And I think it's the Knicks that have the ball because they're wearing black
it's
at
been
home.
bugging me all night.
And the Hawks wearing white on the road. I hate that the NBA does this. You want to have alternate jerseys, fine. And I like that they scheduled it out for the whole year. That NBA locker website is pretty cool. Wear white at home. Or if go color on color. Don't have teams wear white on the road. Oh, what a shot. Who was that? Fading away from the corner.
Believe that was CJ McCollum.
Did we figure it out? So do the Celtics? I don't think the Celtics get the winner of this no matter what. I think it reseeds. I don't think it's a fixed bracket.
All these leagues can constantly change their playoff formats. I think the Celtics would get the Knicks. I'm not sure if they would get the Hawks.
So they would definitely get the Knicks because they're going to get the highest, assuming that the Pistons win that series. They're the 1 seed. If they get the Hawks, then the 7 seed can't move on because that's the Sixers, and the Celtics would have to win to advance. And the 8 seed can't move on because the Sixers would get, so yeah. They wouldn't get the Hawks. If the Pistons win, if the Magic win that series, they would get the Hawks. Right? Yeah, it's oh no, the bracket is fixed.
Fixed bracket. So you're getting
You're right. They change this all the time. I should know this. We should know this. But they will get the Celtics will get the winner of this series. And the Hawks just took a lead. The Hawks just took 107-103, 10 seconds to go. Okay. Run it out. Run this thing out. Give us some time between series. Let the Celtics rest up. Let us get some days to golf, some free nights, and then get back to it. Do you want the Knicks again? The Hawks are the easier matchup. Do you want the easier matchup? You want revenge?
I want the Knicks.
I'm with you. The Knicks don't scare me that much that it's like it's not worth getting the revenge.
No, it's 100% worth it. I want the Knicks. It's great for TV. It's great for ratings. It's good for the league. It's Boston, New York. Yes, feed it to me. That's what I want.
How do you think Tatum would handle that, going back to MSG in the playoffs? He already said, like, going back there. Now, he had a good game when they went back. I know they lost, but he had a good game. But it's like, it's something. It's something to deal with if you're Jason Tatum.
Yeah, and he talked about it. And I'm glad he did, and I'm glad they already played there, kind of got it out of the way. I do think, obviously, a much bigger spectacle when it's the second round of the playoffs, and it's, ESPN, ABC, whatever it may be for those games, like Prime, Peacock, who knows at this point. But I do think he'll be asked about it at length. Luckily, it's not till games 3 and 4. I do think it'll be a thing, but I think having been over that hurdle already, which is something the Celtics talked about, at length with Tatum, the 35 minutes in the regular season, 30 minutes, all this stuff. So it's just another benchmark. But yeah, I'm not someone who doesn't think that that's like a real thing. I think, where you tear your, Achilles and, potentially alter the career of your, the rest of your life. I think that's worth noting, at least. I know some people feel otherwise.
I remember Kendrick Bourne saying when they went back to Miami the year after he tore his ACL, he went back to that spot on the turf and yelled at it pregame, which whatever works, right? But you make a great point. And I don't think it would ultimately define the series either way, but the fact that they went back and have played there since, and he has played there since, I think would really help. It's also like if you're up 2-0, that probably takes a lot of that pressure off. By the way, the Knicks did just hit a 3. Brunson hit a 3 from the top of the arc. So 107-106, 7.1 to go. So the Knicks will foul and get the ball back at worst down 3.
You would think, right?
You would They're just going to let it run out?
Well, no, but we've seen poorly coached teams before in the playoffs.
If they don't get a foul,
it would be very Knicks. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, like, you're going to go for the steal off the inbound, obviously. But how much time do you need? What do they have? 2 seconds to foul? There's 7.1 on the clock. You have to foul as soon as it gets in.
Yeah,
you
it looks
can't.
Like, obviously we're watching. I'm not exactly right up against the TV. It looks like the Knicks have no timeout, so they need to foul.
Are you ahead of me in there?
They're just coming back now. No,
okay.
we're about locked in.
We're synced up. Okay. Yeah, the NBA needed this. It was a good ending.
Desperately.
I know we can't we're not allowed to describe exactly what's going on, but
Joe does all the time.
He almost got away. 5.6. They got the foul. They got it within 2 seconds. Who's going to the line here?
CJ McCollum, 32 points already tonight, I believe.
CJ McCollum ended up on the Hawks, huh?
He did, yes. Part of that Trae Young trade, actually.
Remember, he had a podcast with Jordan Schultz. That's how Schultz started getting big.
I don't remember that.
So that was one of Jordan Schultz, because he started doing more NBA than NFL. I know he's mostly an NFL guy now.
I was going to say, I know him as almost always an NFL guy.
Right. Well, you know who his dad is.
Yes.
Everybody knows him as he's the Starbucks guy. But yeah,
yes, he got a yelling match at Starbucks. That's correct.
Of course. I was at the combine. That was all anybody was asking
we sent
me.
You back there, back to the spot of the injury. Barth had to go back.
I did go there later in the week because there was I just needed a quick bite to eat before my flight, and there was a Subway of all places. I'm usually not a Subway guy, but there's a Subway right next door. Did he just take a 2? Oh, they missed it. Did he miss both free throws? Wow.
He missed the free throws. And then Miles Bridges got a...
that was a good look.
Bridges, I'm sorry. Got a decent look. And
go to the basket, but that was a decent look. What is this Hawks player complaining about? You won. Unless they called a foul, we can't... No, they're walking off the court. All right, so that one's even at 1. The Celtics sweep, they buy themselves... Because it's the end... Is it the NBA? I always forget because they change it. Is it the NBA or the NHL that will start the next round while one round's still going?
I think the NBA will. I think the NHL will not. But again, Barth, I'm not 100% sure.
Well, it's also as long as this series, the Celtics can't play till this series ends because they need their opponent. So if you get a sweep, you've at least bought yourself. And this was game 2, so they're a game ahead of where the Celtics are. So you've bought yourself a little time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Jordan Schultz had a podcast pull-up with CJ McCollum.
I would love, I think there's been so many podcasts that for us to try and find the most random podcast ever, the most, out there podcast is too tall of a task. But there has to have been some real weird duos that embarked on podcasts together.
Or if you just Google most random podcast ever, I wonder what comes up. Let's see. What is the most obscure podcast you've come across? Scream Scene. A podcast where a married couple watches every horror movie ever made in chronological order.
Oh, my goodness.
And ranks them from best to worst. You were talking about, the pairings of people, though.
Yes. Yeah.
Didn't, Bruce Springsteen and Barack Obama have a podcast for a minute?
That probably happened. It was a moment in time.
That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yes.
There's a lot of podcasts now where it's shows from 20 years ago and the cast gets together. Not Always Sunny. Always Sunny is a podcast, but they're still making the show.
Yeah, I think do they still do that, though?
I think I saw there's a new season coming.
Oh, no, I meant the podcast.
I don't know. Well, that's the other thing. There's 3 episodes of this thing, and you just get clips of it on your YouTube feed. The most random one I saw, were you a Ned's Declassified guy back in the day?
I remember what it was. I couldn't tell you anything about the show.
I like Ned's Declassified. That was one of my shows when I was of that age.
Yeah.
It was on Nickelodeon. What year was this on? Yeah, 2004, so I was 10.
They had Coconut Head.
Yes, Coconut Head, yes.
The show, yeah.
Yes, I still use that to refer to that haircut.
Yes.
I
had that haircut.
They have a podcast, and it's Ned, who I don't think was in Devin Werkheiser, who I don't really think was in anything else. or wasn't in that much else. Daniel Lee Curtis was his best friend. He really wasn't in anything else. I don't think. Yeah, I'm looking. His TV and filmography is very small on Wikipedia. And then Lindsay Shaw, who was in a couple of things. She was in 10 Things I Hate About You. She was in Pretty Little Liars. She was in a few, like, not A-list, but I think she was the one from that show that actually, like, got some work after. Got some, like, legit work. So they do, and they tell all these behind-the-scenes stories from the show and, you know, who was dating who, and you kind of figured that watching the show and things like that. I always liked that show.
Some of the background of those Nickelodeon shows, though, is not great.
Yeah, so it's that. This is outside of that.
Okay.
This is, it was produced differently. It was not, what was his name? Dan Schneider, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, this was not, you couldn't do this for all.
No, certainly not.
It was produced by Lazar Sarek.
No idea.
I no idea either. But I see Sarek, that's like a Eastern European basketball name, and then Lazar.
Yeah.
It's like Evan Lazar.
What else was like Ned's Declassified? Like, I'm trying to think of what else was around that time. For like Drake and Josh.
Drake and Josh was in there. That was Dan Schneider.
Guy. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Drake and Josh, Zoe 101.
Yeah, see, I think that was, yeah.
Yeah. I never watched that. I probably should, that Nickelodeon documentaries. I don't know which one of these shows are, but what else was on it? Like 2000. Let me see if I can find 2004 Nickelodeon lineup.
We're getting Danny Phantom.
We're getting Danny. I liked Danny Phantom.
Great show. Chalk
Danny
Zone?
Phantom was a good show. I remember Chalk Zone. Chalk Zone was a cool show.
Interesting concept. I feel like I could have used some performance enhancers for that show. The Fairly Odd Parents, which ran apparently until 2017. Good for them.
Yeah, some of these ran like a while. So I think that Danny Phantom and Fairly Odd Parents and Ned's Declassified are all the same like tree.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like how like Drake and Josh and iCarly are like the same tree.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Coaching tree. The Amanda show's in there. So definitely Danny Phantom and Fairly Odd Parents because they're animated the same way.
Those. Yeah.
Very in on those. What else did we have back then? My Life's a Teenage Robot, and I wasn't as into that one.
I don't even remember that.
Wild Thornberries, that was a good one.
Classic.
Yeah. You're Wild Thornberries guy?
We used to have there was a gentleman, I think on the Bills, who did the Wild Thornberries thing, but I don't know if I used to have it on my hotkeys, I thought, but maybe not.
Oh, the Donnie?
Yeah.
The younger brother? That's a good one. Rocket Power. I was a big Rocket Power
Rocket
guy.
Power ruled. My dad enjoyed that. That's how you knew it was halfway decent.
Rocket Power is that like the most underrated Nickelodeon show?
It's got to be up there.
I think it's up there. And there was one they had where like they're in a hurricane and they go out to try to surf during a hurricane. They made like a movie out of it. They'd have like those specials that were they always felt like events. Like, do you remember
the only one I really remember
Rugrats All Grown Up?
I do remember that one. The one I was going to say though was like a Jimmy Neutron, or it might have been Fairly Odd Parents, where they went like inside the TV or something.
Oh, channel change. This came up on my Twitter yesterday.
Really?
That's why I had that off the top of my head.
Yes.
Somebody's like, they don't make it like this anymore. The channel change, or channel servers, they were parodying all these different TV shows that I'd never watched because I was a kid.
Yes.
And as I got older, it was like Seinfeld, and I was like, I remember this from that.
That's the one I distinctly remember as a kid.
That was you remember where you were growing up when you saw that. And then they had the crossover with Jimmy Neutron.
Yes, I remember that one loosely as well.
I remember the Jimmy Neutron movie. I remember going to see the movie.
I remember going to see the Simpsons movie in theaters.
I do remember the Simpsons movie.
I don't remember the Jimmy Neutron movie.
I thought Spider Pig was going to be like the biggest thing, and then he's in like 2 scenes.
It's tough. That's how they get you with that marketing.
So Jimmy Neutron was a movie before it was a TV show, I thought.
Oh, that I don't know. Now we're getting too deep in the weeds.
I don't know why I remember any of this. I also don't know if this is true. I just pulled that off the top of my head. I feel like that segment was fitting for Joe.